Hello. Something is happening here. What it is isn't exactly clear. Actually, it is pretty clear. We are here to induct
Oh
25 more
man.
members into the our band artist music Hall of Fame. Similar to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, except we're just gonna make it the Music Hall of Fame. So we don't have to get into debates on who is rock and roll and who's not. But yeah, three of us are here too. We are inducted 25 members in with Briar and Adam and myself. So we're going to do 25 more. And I got Nick the Ox. I got Garrett, I am the Walrus.
Goo goo
And
goo.
and I'm Jason, and I can't get no satisfaction. And so we are going to start with Garrett and then Nick. And then after they go through five of their picks, then I will join in on the six picks, anyways, and I'll key you guys in on that. But anything you guys want to say before you start? Or
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I think that it was a really fun idea to do this. I really liked having the little turn by turn pick of getting to choose
yeah,
who gets to get
that's fun.
inducted. That was really fun getting to do that. Just to kind of talk about who we think is good enough to get into the Music Hall of Fame. And there's lots of great artists out there. Excited to get to induct the ones that I've chose today here.
Yeah, me too. Very excited. I'm gonna make it no secret. This is my favorite decade of music. I mean, '70s is great too. A lot of great albums, a lot of great
My
artists
favorite.
that started from the '70s. You know, I have. I'm really sad for that because a couple of my favorite artists it's from the '70s, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But man, I love the '60s. Birth of my favorite band of all time. Uh, the greatest band of all time. No one could come close. They're from another planet. Uh,
Well, we'll get to talk a little bit about the '70s today because I think Jason is it just like the people who released their first two albums in the '60s? Because I know a few of them on my list released most of their stuff in the '70s, but their first
Yeah, it's
two were the
basically just
'60s.
if they had some kind of impact in the 60s, and they can have impact in other decades. But and you can talk about whatever career you want to talk about, but it's just a way to categorize, I guess, who we're going to talk about. And then because as we did the last, me and Nick were talking about, Briar, half of his list were 50 artists, but we we included it because they did make some music in the 60s, so
Yeah,
we allowed it in this. And there'll be some artists that are maybe bigger in the 70s, but they start in the 60s, so it's okay, whatever works. And then we'll have more to talk about in the 70s
yeah.
when we get there anyways. But um, yeah, so of course, like I said last time, we picked 25. They weren't the 25 best, they were just 25 that the three of us picked at that time. And so whatever artists you didn't see in the first video, we will talk about them in this video. Believe me. we will we will cover the big one. So um, exactly, that's why I thought, Garrett, I kind of wanted you to go first, so because you got a big one on yours.
Okay, but is it okay if I don't talk about the big one first?
You don't
I'll do
have
it
to.
like second. There's another one I want to talk about first.
Yeah,
Who I think
whatever order you want.
somebody who I think was influential on the big one here, and who was influential on pretty much everybody you can think of on this list. His impact is just way too big to ignore, and definitely needs to be in this Hall of Fame. And on my channel recently, I created a new character called the Genius, who's kind of a jerk for people who disagree with his opinions. But there's another guy whose nickname was the Genius, who was not a jerk, who was a great musician, and he proves that you don't have to see to be a visionary. And I am talking about Mr. Ray Charles.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy was legendary. He can play the piano like nobody else. His voice is just absolutely amazing, and he actually was very experimental as well. If you listen to his single "What Did I Say," he implements like people talking in the middle of it, and I'm like, "What? When did this come out?" And it came out in like 1962 or something like that. And I'm like, this guy was doing experimenting with sound effects and talking in the middle of the song before the Beatles were, and like that's just crazy. His album song, what was I'm thinking of Stevie Wonder's album. Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music. That's the I have that one. That that was released in 1962 as well. Later on in '62, that's one that was a #1 record, one of the best-selling records. I didn't put it in the 50 essential albums of the '60s, but probably should have been on there because of just the impact that record had. And I bet you that pretty much everybody on our list has listened to Ray Charles before. Just a few notable songs by Mr. Ray Charles or Georgia on My Mind, You Don't Know Me, of course, What Did I Say, like I said earlier, Hallelujah, I Love Her So, and many, many other classics, especially his rendition of America the Beautiful. That will go down in history as one of the best performances of that song.
Yeah.
So, Ray Charles is who I'm going to start with. And then I'll do the big one second.
Yeah, the one I think of is Hit the Road Jack. Was always
and Hit the Road Jack. How did I forget that one?
I think that's my favorite version of that song. But
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back.
Oh, come on. Yeah, he's talking to the girls. Trying to get him to bring him back.
Come back no more. Hey, one more time. Hit the road, Jack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very influential.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody talks about him. I know him from the movie Ray is mostly where I know him, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting that there's more than one blind piano player on our list.
Yeah. They called Stevie Wonder the next Ray Charles whenever he first started out. Yeah, because he was also blind.
I know. Yeah, it's so interesting.
Like his second album is a tribute to Ray Charles. It's all Ray Charles covers.
Really?
He was like 11 when he did that album too.
Yeah, he did it young.
This guy had a record contract at 10, but then again, I bet you he's on one of our lists. So
he'll be on the list.
Don't spoil too much about him.
Great. Now go to Nick for your first pick.
So I'm gonna leave my best pick for last.
Okay.
Since we're going with the talented blind people, I'm gonna go with Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good transition.
Good transition.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say he started out making great albums right on the bat. I mean, like you guys mentioned, he started off as a kid. Jazz Soul of Little Stevie is just an instrumental album. Tribute to Uncle Ray, horrible album. I can't stand that album. With the Song in My Heart and Stevie at the Beach are even worse, believe it or not. But there's Happy Ending. Uptight and Down Earth is when his albums get really good. I Was Made a Lover is a good album. Someday at Christmas is, I wouldn't put it up there. I wouldn't say it's as good as the John Denver Christmas album or the Beach Boys Christmas album or of course, the famous Phil Spector Christmas album, but it's a good contract obligation album. Evet's Red Now is a horrible instrumental. Hate that album. But starting with For Once in My Life is when his album starts to get really, really good. That, My Cherie Amour, Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Then, like, the next record, where I'm coming from in 1971, that was like when he was like, you know what, I'm writing all my songs. They're like, okay, but we just want this one person to co-write with you. And he was like, okay, fine. Contract ends. He's like, that's it. I want all rights to my music. I want more pay, this and that. They're like, whatever. You're doing the best for us, so let's see what you can do. And Music on My Mind, Talking Book, Intervisions, Before His First Finale, Songs in the Key of Life. A lot of those albums will end up being in my top 5 albums of their respective years. The one that me and Garrett are doing.
A lot of them won Grammy Album of the Year.
He won 3 out of 4 years or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, after Songs in the Key of Life, they aren't as good. Like, Stevie Wonder's Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants is weird. Harder than, like, the 80s albums are not as good, but those that stretch of 70s music from even from the 60s, from For Once in My Life all the way to 76 is Songs in the Key of Life. So many hits, like For Once in My Life, You Do My Day, Cherie Amour, Yesterday, Yes for Me. Hold on. Yes for Me, Yes for You, Yesterday. Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Heaven Help Us All, his amazing cover of We Can Work It Out.
Yeah.
So many hits from 68 to 76. I didn't even
Yeah.
name them all. That's how much hits this guy had. And I'm just like, whoa, this guy is just so talented. I consider him to be like him and this other person who will be on my list to be the greatest solo artist of all time. Him and another person are up there. I think Jason might know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely has to be in the list of one of the great musician, great singer. I mean, it's just amazing. I love. I just called to say I tell you I love you, whatever.
See,
Which
oh, that wasn't in his golden period, but still, even
yeah,
outside of it, he's making hits.
yeah,
He's still making great hits. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I even forgot about all the hits until you started naming them, and I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I know that one.
It's crazy. Like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
man,
oh yeah. Well, that's good. We knocked out 2 blind singers. That's pretty good. Who would have
shows how
known?
inclusive we are.
It's just crazy how good they are and couldn't see and all that. But yeah. All right, now we go back to Garrett for your second pick or second inductee.
all right. In 1962, the world was hit by storm when a single entitled Love Me Do hit the shelves, and everybody wanted to hear it. It was like nothing people had ever heard before. It was made by 4 young people from Liverpool named John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, and they would go on to become the Beatles.
Beatles.
As the years went on, Beatlemania ensued. People in England loved them. When they came over to America, people loved them over there too. And they released album after album of non-stop amazing songs. Please Please Me, with the Beatles. A Hard Day's Night, Beatles for Sale. Help, Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Magical Mystery Tour. The White Album. Abbey Road and Let It Be. All absolutely amazing, and a bunch of singles in between. They made a lasting impact that would last until today. Almost everybody has heard of the Beatles and are influenced by them in some way. These guys were at the forefront of creating new recording technologies just to get the crazy ideas that were out of their heads to make music that they would use.
Hey, Gary, there, Garrett. I don't know if his went out.
Um, they're just so good. Garrett has nothing else to say.
Yeah, he's speechless
He's
all of a sudden.
speechless.
It's
That's how
just
great they are.
how good they. Oh, it's not mine.
I have my opinions on the Beatles. Best not I say it on this stream. I do want to make a stream with Jason talking about them more, but yeah, that's later. But I'll comment this about the Beatles. They made a lasting impression on music. That's something I will say.
Yeah, I think you have to say that.
Yeah,
If
it's
you,
like someone's pointing a gun at my head, but yeah, that I will say. But I did have a video plan for me and Jason on the topic of Beatles.
right?
If I hate the
Yeah.
Beatles, I wouldn't have said that, but yeah, they made a lasting impression on music.
Well, yeah. What can you say? I mean, everybody knows the Beatles.
Yeah,
I mean, they're considered the biggest and most popular band of the '60s period. I would say. Definitely had the #1 hits and the album sales to kind of back them up there. Plus the fandom was just crazy, went crazy during that time period. Fortunately, Garrett's having some internet trouble.
Should I go next?
Yeah, when he comes back, we can get back to him maybe. I'm sure he's going to talk about. I don't know if he's going to talk about the fact that we just got a new Beatles song recently,
Oh yeah,
and I don't know if he'll talk about that. But it's just kind of crazy what year we're having that we're getting that. But yeah, I guess while he's fixing that, I guess we can go back to you, Nick, for your second pick, your second inductee.
my second inductee is going to be another solo artist, and drum roll, please. John Denver. Yes,
All right.
I didn't listen to his entire discography, and I think he's well worth being in here. I was going to wait until the '70s, but I was so darn afraid that you were going to pick up Jason.
Well, yeah, eventually I would have picked them. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm picking him right away so that Jason doesn't pick him.
yeah.
I mean, he had two albums in the '60s, John Denver Sings, and well, his first technical album, and then Rhythm is in Reasons is his first commercial album. I love John Denver Sings. I don't know why it's my favorite John Denver album. I don't know, probably because it reminds you so much of Wednesday morning 3 a.m. I don't know, but he made a lot of like I got up to Back Home. Actually, one song that's the album I got up to, but all those albums are 10 out of 10s. Take Me to Tomorrow. Whose Garden Was This is amazing. Aries, amazing. Poems, Prayers, and Promises has my favorite song on there. Of course, Take Me Home, Country Roads, that's my favorite song by him. That'll probably say the same. Usually, I'm never the kind of person to pick the big hit as my favorite.
Yeah.
That song just hits me so different. That song always hits me in the heart, and of course, in the best way possible. I'm just like, I don't know. It's a shame too. It's a shame that's on the same album as Sunshine on My Shoulders because I want that to be my favorite, but I can't.
That's my favorite, but yeah, they're both really good.
Yeah, that's weird because normally you'd be like, you would say that. I'm like, oh, I disagree, but Rocky Mountain High. I mean, that was like I forgot where it was on my 1972 list, but it was so good on my first listen. I had to make it on my list. It's so good. Rocky Mountain High, Mother Nature's Son, great Beatle cover. Going back to the Beatles.
Back to the Beatles.
Paradise. But the big thing that I love about it, and it's my second favorite album of his so far, and it's the Season Suite. Man, oh man, the Season Suite. That's my favorite part of the album.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Amazing. Farewell, Andromeda. I don't know if I said that right. That's also great. Back Home Again's amazing. Of course, the big hit off of it, Annie's song. Love that song. I don't think that's my favorite off of the album. That's probably gonna go to Thank God I'm a Country Boy. That's my favorite off of it. That song's amazing. And the last one I listened to recently was Wind Song, and that's amazing. All these albums are like 10 out of 10s. Not because I don't know. It's just all the songs are just so good. Like there's not 1 second wasted so far. That I'm like, really? Did he have to do this? I mean, the closest that it came to that was the the box off of Poem, Prayers, and Promises. That's
that was a little weird.
I was like, but I'm like, I don't know. His voice is just so good that he's able to get away with that. But yeah, I haven't listened to his entire discography, and he's worth being on this inductee Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, as he said, I'm a big John Denver fan as well. Growing up listening to it, my parents were huge Denver fans, and I've told Nick before that I think both of them have seen him in concert 2 or 3 times back in the '70s, like before they even met each other, I think. And then they went to a concert together. John Denver was in Wichita in the '90s, I forget, at some point before he died, of course, in the plane wreck. So they got to see him kind of towards the end of his career, which is kind of cool. They saw him at the beginning of his career and saw him at the end before he died. And I don't know what you think about John Denver. I always consider him a folk singer, folk country. I guess you call him folk country.
Yeah, that's what I consider him.
Because it was weird because sometimes he's not on the pop stations because they say he's country, and yet I don't know if he's really. I don't consider him country necessarily, even though there's a country like "Thank God I'm Country Boy" is definitely a country song, kind of. I'll go with that, or uh, "Grandma's Featherbed" or whatever. But I don't like to call him just pure country. He's to me a folk singer and with a country tinge to him. So I feel like he doesn't get his. I don't feel like he gets enough accolades for how great he was, in my opinion.
I agree. The fact that I'm now just going through John Denver's albums is just that just kind of proves how underrated he is. He got a lot of great hits, but like no one really talks about his albums like people do with like
No, nobody talks about him.
it's weird. Like the only reason why I got into his albums was because you reminded me of how great he was. Like you mentioned them on the essential albums list.
Mm-hmm.
You said you wanted to listen to review Rocky Mountain High. We never did, but I listened to that. I'm like, that's amazing. So,
yeah, that makes me happy because he needs more people to listen to him, even though
that's kind of the same. Sorry,
needs more love, I guess.
that's the thing with me with the Hollies is that like people know the Hollies off of the singles, but like I don't think they get their fair share of approval on the albums. And I'm like, what? Like when that one Jordan guy was like talking about how great the albums were and how I got him into it. I'm like, oh man, that makes me so happy that people are realizing how great the Hollies were albums. So I know how it feels.
And that you're the one who got him into it. Sorry about my internet connection. It just dropped out on me.
Glad to have you back. We kind of were like, okay, I guess we move on. And
I was joking, Garrett, saying that the Beatles were just so good, you left you speechless.
Good move. You're just still in silence all of a sudden. Yeah, John Denver, I love that pick. Definitely good inductee. Garrett, do you want to finish what you're saying about the Beatles?
They just did so many innovative things in the short span of their career, 1962 to 1970. And it just seems like they influenced probably everybody that's on our list in some way or another. And they definitely need to be in there just for that reason. If not for many, many other
reasons. Many reasons, but yeah. Yeah. Musically, cultural impact,
Oh, yeah. Beatlemania.
I mean, I can only say this because my dad tells me when he was a kid in 1964, and the Beatles came on Ed Sullivan Show, like that was the biggest thing in the world, and everybody was watching it.
It just seems like there's always a big event whenever the Beatles do something. It's still a big Beatles do something. Look right here that I just got. Now and then, huge event that just happened with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying earlier that I'm really excited to have purchased something that the Beatles released in my lifetime. So I'm going to hold on to that as the only Beatles song that I'll have ever bought in my lifetime when it first came out.
It first came out, yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I loved it when they came out with "Free's a Bird" back in 1995, and now this is 2023, and they did it again. Yeah, but I mean, I just remember my dad talking about he wanted the haircut the Beatles had. He wanted the jackets that the Beatles wore. He wanted those boots that the Beatles wore. Like you just wanted to be the Beatles, like back then. I mean, it's just crazy. Of course, his parents wouldn't buy him any of the stuff, but he begged his parents, like I want to do this and that.
Like, where do you get a Sgt. Pepper jacket?
Yeah, or the jacket from Shea Stadium.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Those are
even like some of the jackets that they wore in the Let It Be movie are pretty cool, like the 60s like fur coats.
So good. Yeah, I love those. Those wild colors.
Speaking of wanting to wear something, I've always wanted. This is I've always wanted to wear the jacket that Entwistle was wearing on the cover of My Generation, the the coat with the UK flag. I've always wanted to wear that.
Mm.
I don't know. Like when
Did
I
he
first
want to
saw
wear
that,
his skeleton outfit
Yeah,
that he
skeleton.
wore?
Yeah,
yeah,
I can
Just
see
a
Nick
little-
wearing the skeleton outfit.
skeleton outfit. Him and Townsend had some crazy outfits for sure.
And Daltrey had like the jacket that like he wasn't wearing a shirt, but he was just wearing a jacket, and the jacket had phrase all the way down like here.
yeah. I love how they look like in the 70s. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Sorry for diversing.
That's
All
fine.
right, enough about fashion statements of the 60s.
Dedicated follower. Speaking of fashion, me and Jason just heard a Kinks song called "Dedicated Follower of Fashion." So
I love that song. It's on my Kinks Greatest Hits record that has a lot of their
Okay.
singles that aren't on the albums.
that should have been on King Controversy. What the heck? It's much better than
I
Milk Cow
know.
Blues. That song's way better than Milk Cow Blues. I don't know how that song opened it up and not dedicated. Oh, don't want to think about
Not
that.
even in the US did they put it on there. That's so weird.
Yeah, they just kept the same track list, which, yeah, that's like one of the few cases where taking a track and substituting with a single would have been very beneficial.
Substitute.
Me for him.
All right. Garrett, Nick already went with John Denver, so it's actually back to you with your third inductee.
Okay. Who to go with next? I am going to pick an artist, honestly, that I've not listened to very much. And
Yeah.
you might think it's crazy that I'm inducting them in. But the one song I'm inducting them for is worth the price of admission alone. And I know two of their songs, but one of them especially is worth the price of admission alone. And I'm going to induct the Righteous Brothers into the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because the single, You've Lost That Love and Feeling, quite possibly the most important single ever released. It was produced by Phil Spector, who was a big deal back in the 60s with the Wall of Sound, but everybody was listening to this record. It was really popular when it came out. It was popular when they sang it in Top Gun. It's popular when Hall & Oates covered it. And it just keeps on going, that this particular song, You've Lost That Love and Feeling, and the impact that the Righteous Brothers had with that song. I don't know. I definitely need to listen to more of their stuff because I really like You've Lost That Love and Feeling. I probably need to listen to the album of the same name that has it on there. But very important song in the rock and roll catalog and in the music catalog as well as their song Unchained medley. Oh my goodness, I love that song.
Oh,
that one's really good as well. That's another song that should get them into the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But if all they released in their lifetime was those two songs, then they'd still need to get into the Music Hall of Fame because those two songs are amazing.
Yeah, and that was on the movie Ghost. It was famous for the Unchained Melody.
Yeah.
I prefer Sony and Cher's version of Unchained Melody.
Who?
Sony and Cher.
Okay.
I
And
should- I'm
Elvis
surprised no one
did a
picked them.
Elvis did a good version of it too, pretty much a
Okay.
few months before he died.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one picked Sony and Cher.
You're right. That's another one we didn't pick. Oh. I'll be in our honorable mentions. Yeah, I love the contrast of the low voice. One guy sings low, the other guy sings high, kind of.
Yeah, and then they do the harmony on the chorus.
Oh, it works so well.
Yeah, and if you have
close your eyes, and it's like, wow, that's a great.
it's got like
voice.
the big orchestra behind them. And then when the chorus comes in, you just can't help but sing at the top of your lungs. You lost that love and feeling.
Yeah. So
whoa, good. That love and feeling. And then I love the breakdown. Boom, 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 baby, baby. I get down on my knees.
I don't think I've ever heard that song before. I should
You've never heard You've Lost That Love and Feeling before?
No, I don't think I have.
We're gonna have to listen to it because it's like one of the greatest songs of all time. It's so good.
Yeah. I know Unchained Melody, but yeah, I've never heard that one before. I think.
Yeah.
You gotta hear it. And the Hall & Oates version is great too, but I like the Righteous Brothers version a bit more.
Can't stand Hall & Oates. Sorry.
That's all right.
Can't stand them. I always thought of them as a low budget Simon and Garfunkel.
Ooh.
Yeah, those are good serenade songs as well. But I'll just say,
yeah. There's no wonder that Tom Cruise used that in Top Gun.
Yeah,
This was pickup song.
if you watch YouTube videos of women listening to that song, man, they get all they fall in love like immediately. But yeah, I don't know a lot about them. That's a good group to dive
Yeah, which
into at some
I
point.
probably need to, but that
Yeah.
particular song is just too good that that scored them a spot in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yeah, they probably deserve it. I need to know more, but definitely got some good stuff there. All right, Nick, your third inductee.
Okay, so from stage, Steven Stills, Richard Fury, Bruce Palmer, Dewey Martin, and Neil Young from Buffalo Springfield. Come right up. You are my third pick. Yes, Buffalo Springfield, that awesome American band from the '60s with only 3 albums.
Yeah.
Two of them were amazing. Third one I could take or leave, but there's enough good songs on the third album for me to induct them too. But for what it's worth, one of the all-time greatest anti-Vietnam War songs. You know, how can anyone not know the "Hey, stop now, what's that sound? Everybody, look what's going down." Like, if you never heard that or know that, you've been living under a really bad rock. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. But they had so much. They had a lot more songs than just that song. By the way, there's 3 songwriters and singers. The first one was from Steven Stills. But there's also Neil Young, which would go on to have a great solo career and be on one of my all-time favorite albums, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's "Deja Vu."
One of my all-time favorite albums now too, but we're gonna save that for our review.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
When it inevitably does happen.
Yeah.
But just wait, because the editing that I have planned for this one, I'm gonna have a little sneak preview. Each of us is going to get to be one of the members, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, but who's going to be who? You'll find out whenever I edit the video.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as I'm not young.
No, Nick, I think I'm gonna make you the member of your favorite band of the 4.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna make you either Nash or Crosby, but I was gonna ask you which one you wanted to be.
Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, I don't have to. We both know which member it is.
Yeah.
As my there's a hint. He wrote my favorite song of all time. So let's say that. But Crosby, Stills, Nash talk over. Steven Stills is my least favorite songwriter singer on the band. Might be saying might be coming out with pitchforks already. Don't kill me. I think his stuff gets a lot better with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I mean,
yeah,
he would end up writing "Sweet Judy Blue Eyes," "Carry On," "Hopelessly Hoping." So I think he was better with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. But my favorite member of this band is, believe it or not, it's not Neil Young. It's Richard Fury. Love his voice. Love his writing. I listened to the band that came after him, Poco. Great band. But again, I've had diverging because so much members of these bands would end up going their own separate ways.
And ending up in the Eagles.
Yeah. That's what I love about this band is that like each member had their own, like, they would go in their separate ways. That's a big reason why I inducted them. But going back to what I was talking about with the Buffalo Springfield, Burned and Out of My Mind. Love those Neil Young songs.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Buffalo Springfield song is it's not a Richie Corey song. It's from Neil Young, and that's "Mr. Soul."
Yeah, so good.
That rough and gruff guitar is like,
Guitar.
"Oh, hello, Mr. Soul, I dropped by to pick up a reason."
Yeah.
Like,
is that on the second album, Buffalo Springfield again?
Yeah.
I've only heard the first one. I've got their first album because I love For What It's Worth, and I wanted to listen to the album that it was on. And man, that's a great debut.
Listen to Buffalo Springfield again. That's my favorite album of theirs. But it starts off with my favorite song, "Mr. Soul." A Child's Claim to Fame is amazing. Richard Fury. Every Day is a decent Steven Stills song. That's probably why he's my least favorite, because he has a bunch of the songs where I'm just like, it's okay. Expecting to Fly. I love that song. Another amazing Neil Young song. Bluebird's a decent Steven Still song. Same with Hung Upside Down. Those are two decent Steven Still songs. But Sad Memory, oh, love that song. Good Time Boy is a fun Blues Brothers before Blues Brothers type song. It was their only song sung by their drummer, Dewey Martin. It's a fun one. Rock and Roll Woman, great single. That's probably the best Steven Still songs on here. And Broken Arrow is a fun song by Neil Young. But
Yeah.
then their third album, I mean, there's a couple good songs. I love On the Way Home. I love I Am a Child. I love Kind Woman, but not quite on par with their first two. But it's a good way to end their career. But I wish they would have just ended on their second album because. Well, one as my all-time favorite song by them, "Mr. Soul." If there's one thing that I get out of this, Garrett, listen to "Mr. Soul." That's one of Neil Young's best moments.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Ohio before Ohio.
It's gonna have to be pretty good to beat Ohio because that's my favorite Neil Young song as of right now.
Ohio was great.
Oh, it's after Neil Young song. I have to agree with you, Garrett.
Another little heads up for the review. I am never going to listen to Deja Vu without playing Ohio immediately after because I got the single. And so every time I listen to Deja Vu, I'm playing Ohio right afterward. It's the unofficial 11th song on the album.
Yeah, yeah.
And I made a cassette tape dub that's got Ohio
Really?
at the end.
That's cool.
Yeah, Ohio's epic. That's my favorite too, Garrett. So yeah, my number 3, Buffalo Springfield. You have earned yourself my third spot on my list.
Yeah, they definitely are a band that I wish would have lasted longer. They only did the 3 albums and then they kind of broke up. But then again, I guess I can't be mad because then they formed Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and did some great stuff there. So, but I always wonder what else they could have done if they would have stayed together instead of broken up.
I'm guessing it would have probably sounded a lot like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, but without Crosby and Nash.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for what it's worth, I quoted the part of the song at the beginning of the video because to me it's one of the most.
I was so sad because I was going like that, and then you didn't say "There's a man with a gun over there."
Dang it! Yeah, I just ended it at the first line. There's a man with a gun over there, and it's not quite clear or something. I don't know. But it's such a great line, I think, and it's one of the best songs of the '60s, in my opinion.
It's that haunting opening with those guitar harmonics.
That guitar that Neil Young plays.
Boom. It's just a fifth, boom, boom on harmonics.
It's just a ringing.
It's so just disturbing that it's like, what's going on here? Something's happening here. There's something happening here. Oh my goodness, I was just thinking that. It's like
I will say this, I feel like they started losing steam on the third album, so
yeah.
I'm kind of actually glad they kind of ended after the third album because like I said, their first 2 albums are amazing, but then I started losing steam. I'm glad
Stills and Nash had to happen. Buffalo Springfield walked so Crosby, Stills and Nash could run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or more like Buffalo Springfield ran so Crosby, Stills and Nash could sprint. I'm guessing.
I wouldn't say that with the Hollies or the Byrds or I wouldn't say that about those 2 bands because those 2 bands are very drastically different than what Crosby, Stills and Nash would be.
Other than Our House, that's straight up Hollies territory.
Oh yeah, that would have been.
We're gonna save that for the review.
Imagine without saying anything, imagine if that was a Holly song with Alan Clark and Tony Hicks on it. Oh my God, the harmony!
Don't make me think about that. I love that song so much. I've been listening to it. I listen to Deja Vu every day, and every time it gets to that song, I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, very fine house.
Yeah. Great. Go back to Garrett. I believe it's your 4th pick. 4th inductee.
It's my 4th pick. And who else could I pick for my 4th pick than the Four Seasons? Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Yeah, these guys sing in harmony so well. They were from New Jersey and wanted to get together to make a vocal group. And just the way they sing in harmony is just so good. Some very great songs like Sherry, and they had kind of a resurgence later on with their album Who Loves You, featuring the big hit Oh What a Night. But just for the very reason that like the four of them, or I guess the five with Frankie Valli, the way they sing in harmony and just the kind of the doo-wop, bringing the doo-wop into it, that really needs to put them into the Music Hall of Fame. I'm going to be kind of brief with this one because I know there's lots more to go, and there's maybe more I want to say about some of the other people, but Four Seasons definitely deserve a spot on the list.
100%. Love the Four Seasons. Mostly because I saw the movie Jersey Boys, and that was about the history, which I didn't know about them. And it really opened my eyes to go, wow, they had so many hits. And they were one of the few groups that were big before the Beatles and were still big afterwards. It was kind of interesting to see that. That's great. All right, Nick, you got your fourth inductee?
Okay, Mama Michelle, Mama Cass, Papa Danny, Papa John, come right up. The Mamas and Papas, number 4.
California Dreaming.
Speaking of
California Dreaming.
Mamas and Papas.
Mamas and Papas.
Yeah. Love the Mamas and Papas. I mean, me and Brian went on a full series on them. We just finished it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're doing a retrospective video on my channel, kind of like what me and Jason did today with Simon Garfunkel.
Good plug for tomorrow.
Yes. Shameless plug, if I do say so myself. First album alone. If you can believe your ears. That album. That was the first album I ever purchased. It wasn't even a Beatles album. That was the first album I ever purchased, was If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears. And it wasn't because of the full album. Monday, California Dreaming, the first album, like, it speaks for itself, really. I mean, none of the singles will get as high as those, like, in terms of popularity, but come on, those 2 singles.
Too huge.
Straight Shooter, I Call Your Name. One of the few cases where the Beatle cover is way better than the Beatle original. Do You Want to Dance? Go Where You Want to Go. I know, Jason, you said you liked it. I'm glad you do.
Like that one. Yeah.
The first single they ever released. Spanish Harlem, Somebody Groovy, Hey Girl, You Baby. Man, just top shelf Mamas and Papas material on their first album. Proving themselves that they're an album band right away. Then their second album, which is arguably one of my favorite albums of all time, The Mamas and Papas. They'll Sell on Their Tail, Trip, Stumble, and Fall, Dancing Bear, Words of Love. Not a Buddy Holly cover.
Buddy Holly, yeah.
It's an amazing original. My Heart Stood Still. My favorite version of Dancing in the Street. I know Taste Like Music said, oh, it's a dreadful version of that. No, it's a great cover. It's better than some of their. They're like, oh, My Girl's better than Dancing in the Street. I'm like, no.
I'm kind of partial to the Kinks version, honestly.
It's all right. Love Dancing in the Street. I saw her again. Second Side is what I love the most. I saw her again. Screen Show Girls. I Can't Wait. Even if I could. That Kind of Girl. Once was a time I thought those 6 songs are just, oh man, awful. One of my favorite albums of all time. Delivered, not as good, but it has some really great songs. Creek Alley, Free Advice, Look Through My Window, String Man, great songs. I mean, it does have some pretty bad covers in the beginning of the album. It's like 4 covers, 4 out of the 6 songs are covers, but I'm gonna get away with that because 2 of the covers are actually really good. The 4th album, though, very experimental, not like acidy or like heavily, but for the Mamas and Papas, it's experimental. Safe in My Garden, Meditation Mama, Dream a Little Dream of Me, Mansions, 12:30. Oh, I love 12:30. I mean, these first 4 Mamas and Papas albums in the 60s, I'm just like, besides the Beatles and the Hollies, I don't think any other group could come close to their harmonies. I think the only
Yeah.
two artists I said in the group chat. I think the only two artists that can compete with them and make it a fair fight is the Hollies and the Mamas and Papas. Any other artists, I think the Mamas and Papas would like Birds way better. I mean, Mamas and Papas is way better than Birds, way better than, in my opinion, than Simon and Garfunkel, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Of course, we're on tied to one, but yeah, great. Just the great harmonies alone makes them worth being on this list. And I'm just really excited for them because I don't know, there's just such a good group. I don't think they get the attention and love they deserve.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's my number 4.
Yeah, really good on the two guy, two girl. I don't know how I'm trying to think of who else did that before them, but maybe Peter, Paul, and Mary was 2 guys and 1 girl. But
I
I
can't
mean,
think of
such
anyone
a
else.
Apple would end up doing that.
you don't see that very often. I don't think, do you? The 2 guy, 2 girl groups.
Abba
I can't think of anyone. Oh, ABBA. That's the only one I can think of.
ABBA's the other one. Yeah, that's
I
definitely.
don't think they're nearly as good as the Mamas and Papas in terms of harmony stuff.
Fleetwood Mac's got 2 girls
Yeah.
and 3 guys, but that's
Yeah.
the closest I can think of.
That's close, but it's very rare. But yeah, Mom's Pop is really, what's the word? You perfected that,
Balance.
of that, which is really cool. And interesting, like anytime I read something about Mama Cass, it's like everybody was friends with Mama Cass. Like she knew everybody that was anybody in the 60s. They're like, oh yeah, I would go visit Mama Cass, and
I love in Austin Powers when he's looking through his list of famous people who died, like Jimi Hendrix, Mama Cass, and how they died. Jimi Hendrix drug overdose. It's like Mama Cass died of a sandwich or something like that.
Yeah, so she was very influential, probably maybe more than anybody really, talks about, I think. As far as she introduced Graham Nash to Crosby and Stills, for instance.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's like one of those things where she would introduce people together. She, I think, introduced, I guess I'll talk about this maybe on One Mind, but yeah, I'll talk about it on one of my other bands, I think. Anyways, but yeah, great pick there. So Garrett, now it's your 5th inductee.
All right. I'm going to do what Nick's been doing. If I could have a Mr. Ray Manzarek, Jim Morrison, John Densmore, and Robbie Krieger step forward, I'm going to induct the Doors into the Music Hall of Fame. And the Doors are known for being very experimental with their music, infusing jazz and blues with rock, also being at the forefront of American music. Now, they had it going straight from their first album, The Doors, they actually had it going with their first song, Break On Through to the Other Side. It was a big hit. But there's some other really great songs on that first album as well. Crystal Ship is fantastic. There's a little song called Light My Fire on that album. I think people may have heard of that one. The B-side's good too. I like Take It As It Comes. The End, while not one of my favorite Doors songs, is definitely very influential, though, for its very long length, as well as some of Jim's poetic ramblings there in the middle of it. But they also have some other great songs on their other albums as well. Really, all of their albums are really essential listening for 60s music, especially their final album, L.A. Woman, is absolutely fantastic. I love The Changeling, Love Her Madly, and Riders on the Storm. So good. Mm-hmm. Great way to end their career with Jim Morrison. But everything in between is great as well. I actually really like Soft Parade. I know some people don't, but I can't get enough of the song Touch Me. It's just so good. It's I've said before that I can hear a rock singer or Frank Sinatra singing this song. And I love that nasty sax solo in the middle. Every time that comes on, it's just like, yeah. And John Densmore and Robbie Krieger both had backgrounds in jazz playing, so that definitely helps.
Yeah, you can tell, some of the soul.
And Ray Manzarek is probably the greatest keyboard player of all time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. I know there's some other really great people out
Yeah.
there. Emerson, the guy from Yes, what's
Yeah.
his name? Rick Wakeman, that's his name.
Yeah.
Even like Geddy Lee or even Eddie Van Halen's pretty good on the keys himself, even though
Really?
he's a guitar player. Yeah, he does all the synthesizers on their 1984
okay.
album.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go ahead and say that the best keyboard player of all time is Ray Manzarek, just because
Very good. Yeah.
just the way he plays the keyboard is just very. It's like he tells a story, but with the piano playing. And the best example I can think of is Riders on the Storm, that intro. That like he's painting a picture of a rainy day where there's like a murder on the loose, and you hear it sounds like raindrops are falling. But we also got Robbie Krieger on the guitar, very good guitar player. He had a background in jazz playing. John Dennis more on the drums. And funny enough, they didn't have a full-time bass player, so every album they had to get a different person to play the bass on. And then whenever they played their songs live, they had to have a Ray play the bass part with his left hand on a keyboard, so that would sound more full because they didn't have a full-time bass player. But that is the Doors.
Yes.
Yeah, Doors is great. Well, before you say we have to say Jason, I'm the one who got Soundlab got really into Doors, so
Wow.
I'll contribute some things too. First album is great. Strange Days I love. Wait for the Sun has one of the wildest songs ever.
I will say that and don't hate me for saying this. You can like whatever type of music from the Doors you like. If you're watching this, they're in the Music Hall of Fame here for that very reason. But I'm more partial to the Doors pop sound than their experimental stuff. Honestly speaking, like a lot of bands, I like their experimental stuff better. But with the Doors, it just gets too experimental for me.
I'm like the biggest Door fan here, so I like just about everything they did. Mostly, I love Not to Touch the Earth. I love Spanish Caravan.
I love Spanish Caravan. That one's amazing. I love the guitar playing on that one.
Yeah, that's my favorite song by them. Soft Parade. I agree with Garrett or Scott. That's a very unappreciated album. People always like, that album, orchestrate stuff. I'm just like, no, that's like the best part of it.
I love that. I love all the orchestrated songs. Tell all the people that you see, follow me. Follow me down. It's so good.
Well,
I love that. Like I just hear that, I'm like, something really good's about to happen. This sounds very triumphant, and then Jim just comes in. Tell all the people that you see, follow me.
It's like
follow me down.
It's like an anti-war song. It's like an anti-war protest song. But Morrison Hotel's decent. It's grown on me. Yeah.
It's got Waiting for the Sun. It's got Roadhouse Blues. I don't really like the B-side as much, but
actually, Roadhouse Blues is the B-side. Oh, never mind. I think
I'm talking about the album.
No. I was gonna say, Roadhouse Blues was the B-side.
Land Ho or Ship
they
of
started
Fools.
playing that song more.
Land Ho and Ship of Fools, I don't really like as much.
I like Land Ho. The one song I don't like is I'm a Spy and Maggie McGill. Those two songs I can't stand.
I like Peace Frog though. That one's really funky.
Oh, that song with the Blue Sunday coming right after it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's like my favorite part of the album. We're getting too deep. Alley Woman's amazing. Even the two post Morrison albums without him is good. I wouldn't say they're as good, but.
Well, can we just agree that the Changeling is his best vocal performance, though?
Yes.
I love that one. I'm a changeling. See me change. He's like, he does a different kind of vocal on that than he does on any of his other songs.
It reminds me of how like Daltrey changed his vocal style for "Who Are You."
Yeah.
I mean, Jim Morrison. You have to talk about Jim Morrison. I mean, he's on a top 10 like great what do you call them, frontmen of a group.
Yeah.
I mean, iconic, the way he looked, his vocals, just his demeanor. I don't know. He has an interesting, just the way he acted on stage or whatever.
Apparently his stage persona is very different than how he was in real life. Because
Really?
like I hear him perform and he's like doing all this weird artistic stuff.
Yeah, very artistic.
And then like I see this videos of him on YouTube just like talking with the Doors, and he's got this really goofy personality. Like he just wants to like be funny with the other people. And, like that is completely different than what I thought he was like.
Very,
like it's based off of his songs.
Yeah, because very dark songs. Like the end is very dark.
Yeah, I thought he would be like a real serious like. I'm a poet. Yeah, I'm going to be right. And then like he was like cutting up with the other Doors, and I'm like, oh, he's completely different than I thought.
Let me tell you this. Ray Manzarek saw the biopic movie. He said it was horrible. He said,
really?
It's this way you got to say. Hold on. He said, if I knew about Jim Morrison the way they portrayed him in that movie, we would have never formed the Doors. We would have never been friends.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't yeah. He said the way that they portrayed him when he was sober. He said he hated that Jim Morrison, the way that like he would have never been friends with him. There would have been no Doors. If Jim Morrison that they portrayed in the movie was the way he was. He said he was basically what Garrett said. It's a fun, loving guy. Very, very quiet, very introverted. Despite the weird poetry stuff that he does.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, that keyboard like intro to like Light My Fire, absolutely amazing, and the guitar playing absolutely amazing by the guitar player, like you mentioned. I love You Two Times is I think one of my favorites. I love the guitar on that. Yeah.
I love People Are Strange too, and the piano solo on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, great. All right, Nick, it's your fifth inductee.
Yeah, I'm sorry again, Jason. I had to switch it up again.
Switch it up.
I told him it was going to be the Dave Clark 5, but let me bring Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Chris Dedra, Keith Rolfe, Jimmy McCartney, and Eric Clapton come right up on the stage. Probably Eric Clapton came up on the stage for Cream, but he's coming up again for the Yardbirds. Yeah, the Yardbirds. Very, very influential band. You might be being like, well, they didn't have a whole lot of hits. They're a lot more influential than you think. They're the second band to adapt Indian inspired music. You're probably thinking like, oh yeah, the Beatles was first. No, actually, that was the Kinks who had Indian influence in their music with a song called "See My Friends." The Yardbirds was the second group to have Indian influence in their music. So, two bands beat the Beatles to the punch.
Beatles just made it popular.
Yeah, but
yeah.
The Stones did Paint It Black after that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles made it popular, but the Yardbirds and the Kinks, they're the ones who basically was the start of it. Heart Full of Soul and See My Friends. I'll go more into that when I think about the Kinks, but Heart Full of Soul. The way Jeff Beck plays the guitar, the way he plays it is like he's playing his guitar. Fun fact, you guys probably never heard that song before. I'm just babbling on. There's like, you guys are probably like, what the heck is he talking about? But this song, like when they first recorded it, it was an actual guitar, and they're like, we're not a fan of how this guitar is, blah blah blah. We're not a fan of how this person's playing it. And then they're like, Jeff Beck was like, how about I play my regular guitar like it's a sitar? And they're like, that's a good idea. And Heart Full of Soul, written by Graham Goldman, the guy who had so many hits but couldn't write a hit for his own band. Me and Jesse were just talking about that. Yeah, he wrote For Your Love, Evil Hearted You, and Heart Full of Soul. And those three songs became really big for them, especially For Your Love. That was the famous song that got Eric Clapton to leave the band because he didn't like the fact that they're going more into a pop direction. And he ended up being in John Mayall's Blues for that one album. Then he was with Cream, and he was with so many bands. But I gotta say, the big reason why I switched them out for Dave Clark 5 is there was just so many great artists that came from this. I mean, Jimmy Page was on this band. Eric Clapton was in this band. and Jeff Beck was in this band.
Yeah, 3 great guitar players.
I mean, for crying out loud, the Led Zeppelin's original name was the New Yardbirds.
Yep.
So,
That's right.
And Keith Relf, the lead vocalist, I think he's a very underrated lead vocalist. Like people, I mean, don't get me wrong, I just mentioned it. People always mention the guitarist that came from this band, but people don't realize how great his vocals are. I love his vocals. I mean, the other members are good, but I think the guitarist and the Keith Relf is just, man. I mean, we have a lot of great songs. Like I said, Evil Heart of You, Heart Full of Soul, what's called For Your Love. But yeah, a lot of great songs. Number 5, Yardbirds.
Yeah, obviously influential to Led Zeppelin, I would say. Almost felt like Yardbirds turned into Led Zeppelin in some ways, but we'll get to that on one of our picks. But all right, Garrett, it's your 6th inductee.
Hold on there, Jimmy. We're not done yet. My 6th inductee is Led Zeppelin.
Jimmy, stay on stage.
And if we could get Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham to the stage. Thank you very much.
The late John Bonham.
Okay. So these guys' debut album was so explosive. People had never heard anything like this before. This was probably the hardest rock anybody had heard before, other than like Hendrix or Helter Skelter by the Beatles. It's probably the hardest things that had come out before. And so whenever people dropped the needle on this record and heard Good Times, Bad Times blasting through their speakers, they were probably like, I have never heard anything like this. What is going on right now? And they would go on to electrify the blues and even create some of their own new types of music. Really, like they kind of defined the genre of rock and roll in the 70s. They electrified the blues in the 60s, and then they created kind of the hard rock genre in the 70s. And again, going back to their debut album, all of the amazing songs on that, kind of bringing blues music into kind of harder territory with Good Times, Bad Times, Communication Breakdown, How Many More Times, and even great ballads like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, and whatever the heck Dazed and Confused is. I have no idea how to describe that with like the guitar playing with a violin bow. Like that's crazy. And then following that up with their second album, just making an album of all really great rock songs. Whole Lot of Love, Heartbreaker, Ramble On. Just another really great album. And then in the 70s, they decided to completely switch their sound on their third album and create an album of half rock songs and half acoustic songs. And I feel that even though the success of that album wasn't as great, that was probably the best choice they could have made, because it really showed that they were willing to put themselves out there and experiment and go into new territories, which they did a lot of all their albums from then forward. Their fourth album, creating an absolute masterpiece in Stairway to Heaven, as well as lighting up the radio with all kinds of amazing rock songs like Black Dog, Rock and Roll, When the Levee Breaks. Then completely turning that album on its head for Houses of the Holy and going into uncharted territories like reggae, funk, world music with Dancing Days, and you name it, pretty much everything on that. Playing musical chairs with acoustic and electric music on Over the Hills and Far Away, using tape manipulation on the Song Remains the Same so that Robert Plant could still have his signature high vocals without him actually having to sing that high. And then they still had their pounding rockers like The Ocean. Oh, and then it also features one of their most experimental songs, No Quarter, which I absolutely love that song. Kind of a very one is. And then going on to create an epic double album with Physical Graffiti and creating the epicness that is Kashmir, as well as getting funky with it with Trampled Under, taking a old spiritual song to the next level with In My Time of Dying, And more experimentation on this one. Night Flight, the Wanton song, 10 Years Gone. Oh my goodness, that is such a good song. Jimmy Page creating what he calls his guitar army. I'm doing I think he had like 20-something guitar parts overdubbed on that song.
Really?
And even just having fun with songs like Boogie with Stu. And then they were still willing to push the boundaries even at their lowest point with songs like Achilles' Last Stand. And even in a very dark time where they were addicted to drugs and Robert Plant's son had died, they still were managing to experiment with In Through the Outdoor with songs like Fool in the Rain featuring a samba section, John Paul Jones being a pioneer of the synthesizer a few years before it got popular, and like taking like 50s sounding songs and kind of throwing that in the mix too. Really were experimenting until they ended. So, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about Led Zeppelin as well. I mean, we're all three big fans of the group, and man, just the rock riffs, some of the best rock riffs of all time, in my opinion. I mean, drumming. I mean, you got like maybe one of the best drummers of all time.
Possibly the best. I would put Neil Peart as number one, but I think I can put Bonham as number two.
Right.
Keith Moon number three.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say those three are probably your maybe top three. Ginger Baker would be in there, but
Stuart Copeland, I'd put him at 4.
Stuart Copeland's in there.
He's amazing.
And then I don't know. It's just as far as musicianship, I always say like I always have a hard time between like Led Zeppelin and The Who. I always say those are like two.
Those
and maybe throw Queen in there and Rush in there, but it's like
those are like the most musically proficient bands.
Just as far as every single instrument is just so good. Plus the lead vocals, it's just perfect. But yeah.
Nick, you got anything to throw in there?
You got to say anything, Nick?
Oh yeah, I was just waiting for you guys, so I didn't want to interrupt because Led Zeppelin. I mean, they're so good. So all three of us have a different favorite album of theirs.
That's how you know when you're good, is whenever lots of people think a different one of your albums is the best one.
Jason's 4, Garrett's Houses, mine's Physical.
Okay.
I mean,
but all three of those albums could be their best one. It's just like down to personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Led Zeppelin 2.
I could even make an argue for 3. Like, I love that album.
And 2, yeah, definitely.
And 2, and any of them other than Presence.
And 1, yeah.
I don't like Presence. I don't like Presence. I like a few songs on there, but
not
Presence.
I don't
like that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys asked me. But yeah, Led Zeppelin.
And after listening to some of the outtakes from In Through the Outdoor on Coda, I think In Through the Outdoor, even though I really think it's underrated and I love that album, it could have been even better. Like today on my way home, I made a cassette tape of my version of In Through the Outdoor, and I'll go ahead and let you know what the track listing is. But I think if that was the track listing of In Through the Outdoor, then it would be like my 3rd favorite Led Zeppelin album.
Yeah.
Some of you people think I'm crazy.
I couldn't get rid of Hot Dog, though. I love Hot Dog.
Oh, you're going to like what I did. So my track listing is In the Evening, and then Ozone Baby, and then Fool in the Rain, and Wearing and Tearing. And then side 2 is Darlene, All of My Love, and Carousel Ombre is the big closer. But on my tape, I made 1 minute of silence, and there's a hidden track, Hot Dog.
Oh, yes. That's such a great idea.
It's so funny because it's like if you let the tape play, like you can, like it's long enough to where it's like if someone was to play that tape, they'd be like, oh, that's the end of the album and stop it. But if you keep it playing, it'll play Hot Dog if you wait long enough.
Yeah, it's so cool. That's a great idea, Garrett. That's a fantastic idea. Bravo to that. Yeah, Led Zeppelin, great pick, man. Great pick.
All right, Nick,
number 6.
Your 6th inductee.
Okay, Ronnie Wayne. Come on, Steve Marriott. Come on, Kenny Jones, and come on, Ian McGuigan of the Small Faces. Come right up. Come right up.
Are you listening to Living Loving Nate up there?
Come right up, though, guys. You guys enjoyed it. Come on, you 4. You're on my 2nd favorite band, but you're still my top 10. Small Faces. Yeah, Small Faces.
Yeah.
Love the Small Faces. I'm definitely the biggest Small Faces fan here.
That's one of your big ones, yeah.
Yes, I love the Small Faces.
Are they still like? Where would you rank them in your top artists now?
I don't know, but they're still in my top 10.
Okay, yeah.
Ever since I've gotten into Rush and Genesis heavily.
Genesis, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you love Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably the biggest Genesis fan probably here.
It's between you and Briar.
Briar, yeah, he's big on it.
Y'all are gonna have to fight for the biggest Genesis fan title.
Well,
I'm probably the biggest Phil Collins Genesis fan out of everybody.
I'm a big fan of both of them. That's why I'm the biggest fan, probably. Like Briar, because we love the Peter Gabriel stuff a lot. We also like to appreciate the Phil Collins stuff. We like to get both of them in there. Some people like to attack one another. I'll get more into it with the different artists who that they like to attack each other. But Peter Gabriel fans like to attack the Phil Collins fans. Phil Collins fans like to attack the Peter Gabriel fans. I'm a Genesis fan.
And the trippy hippie hates both of them.
Yep. But we're getting too much. We're getting too much into Genesis.
Yeah. I know.
Save that for the 70s.
Yes. Their debut, though, it's basically a heavier blues, maximum R&B that the Who did with My Generation, but not as good. But it reminds me of My Generation. Then their second album on their next label called The Small Faces. I remember Jason was like, "Which Small Faces? Which one are we reviewing? Which Small Faces are we doing?"
There's two.
Confusing.
Yeah. And then there's Back in Smoke on Flake, which is one of my all-time favorite albums of all time.
You need to make a meme. You know that line in the Star Wars The Phantom Menace? It needs to be like, record executives in 1967 with the Small Faces albums. This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Oh, yeah, David Bowie. You can do the same thing with David Bowie, too, with he had two subtitle numbers, too. But Argent Sunk on Flake, here's how I'll put Argent Sunk on Flake. You have 6 amazing songs on the first half. Then you have an amazing suite on the second half. That's all I gotta say to that. You gotta listen to it for yourself.
Don't forget Ichiku Park. Don't forget Ichiku Park.
Ichiku Park, yeah, that's on their U.S. album. There Are But Small Faces. That used to be for the longest time. That was my favorite Small Faces song. Now I'm gonna say my favorite song by them is Tin Soldier.
I think my favorite Small Faces song is Lazy Sunday Afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great song.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
It shows how versatile it is. Like, they could go from, like, an upbeat, happy-go-lucky Ichigo Park, like, just like, it's all too beautiful. Then you have, like, Tin Soldier, which is just them just jamming out. Though, not to mention that if there was no Small Faces, there would be no Led Zeppelin, because they were a big part on Led Zeppelin.
Whole Lot of Love is pretty much ripping off their song "You Need Love."
Yep, and then you have a third song like "Lazy Sunday." It's just like, wouldn't it be nice to get on me with you?
That's my favorite part. I don't know why. It's so funny.
Yeah, all three of us could collectively agree that's not that part of the song.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, that's so good.
But my favorite that Tin Soldier and Rolling Over, which is the
I love Rolling Over.
I love Kenny Jones drumming. I knew Jason mentioned that. Like, I gotta give you credit for knowing that, like, for recognizing it. I was just like, whoa, Jason's recognizing his drumming, and Garrett brought up to me that he was the replacement drummer for the Who.
Yeah,
well deserved, because
Kenny
Jones is a great drummer. Ronnie Late's a great bassist. He would end up being on a couple of Pete Townsend solo albums. That's one thing too. Pete Townsend hates a lot of artists. He hates this. He hates that. I mean, the only two bands that I know of right now that he likes is the Beatles and the Small Faces. That should show you how great the Small Faces were. If it's on the line where Pete Townsend likes it,
I think Pete Townsend, like, back in the day, just hated stuff just because that's what he wanted his persona to be, was the angry, I hate everything guy. Because like he in the 60s, I saw him put out a review where, like, he hated Pet Sounds and said it was a trash album.
Really?
And then nowadays, like, he's like, oh no, Pet Sounds is one of my favorite albums. I was just trying to be moody.
Yeah, that's fair. Ooh, Keith Moon is. Yeah, just kidding, Keith M. Yeah, Faces is all right. I like the Faces, but I don't think they're nearly as good as they were when they were the Small Faces, in my opinion.
The Faces are kind of like what Led Zeppelin is to the Yardbirds.
Yeah, but Led Zeppelin's way better than Faces.
Yeah.
Way better. No, I actually prefer Humble Pie. That's my favorite of the two bands that formed after Small Faces. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this right now. I think Steve Marriott's my all-time favorite singer, like my all-time favorite frontman in the rock band. If you're gonna ask me who I think my favorite voice is in general, I'd say John Denver. But in terms of frontman in a rock band, that's Steve Marriott, man. Love my Steve Marriott.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like I said, great. Then Ian McLagan, he's like the same with him and Kenny Jones. They get such a bad rap. Not like bad, but like they don't get recognized enough. Ian McLagan is just such a great keyboardist. I would say he's nearly as good as can't think of the name now. My head's hurt. Ray Manzarek, sorry. I'm very tired. Yeah, Ray Manzarek. Yeah, he's amazing. But yeah, he's way better. But yeah, Ian McLagan, great keyboardist. But yeah, congratulations to Small Faces. You're in my 6th spot.
Acceptance speech. Wouldn't it be nice to get on with me neighbors?
just share stay ovation for the Rose.
That's Steve Marriott's acceptance speech.
Yeah. So, Jason, what's your 6th spot?
All right, now I get to join in with my 6th inductee. And for my 6th inductee, I'm inducting one of the great Motown groups, and it is Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, coming out of the Detroit area. They were called Motown's soul supergroup. Obviously, Smokey Robinson, he's one of the most influential, I think, writers and singers of the time period. I know lots of people talk about, Smokey Robinson and the influence on their music, 60s and 70s. I mean, I know the Beatles, they covered one of their songs. I know, You Really Got a Hold on Me. But when I went through like the Beatles, all the Beatles songs, and I ranked them, so many of them early on, John would write a song and say, I wrote this inspired by Smokey Robinson, or I wrote this like a Smokey Robinson song. I try to write like Smokey Robinson. So that made me go, wow, Smokey Robinson, he really was like big. I mean, on those early groups for sure, because of that. And yeah, overall, they're one of the most influential groups of the pop, rock and roll, and R&B genres. Like I said, Smokey Robinson, great songwriter, also smooth singer, for sure. Their first big hit was Shop Around in 1960, which was a big hit for them. I think the Miracles was a group first, and then Smokey Robinson joined in, and it was called Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. And Smokey Robinson went on to be solo, I think, and the Miracles went on, I think, to still be a group. But I still, to me, they were the best when they were Smokey and the Miracles. Robinson and the Miracles was such a some of the best 60s music and Motown music of that time period. They had 26 top 40 pop hits on the pop charts, 7 top 10 singles on the pop charts. They had a #1 single with The Tears of a Clown, really great song. They had 26 top 10 R&B hits, 4 #1 R&B, 4 R&B hits that were #1. So obviously very huge in the R&B charts in the genre there. 11 albums, top 10 R&B charts, and 2 albums that went #1 in the R&B. They had 13 albums overall, and just to name some other great stuff from them, You've Really Got a Hold on Me, like I mentioned, huge hit for them. Ooh Baby Baby, great song. My favorite is The Tracks of My Tears. That's my favorite Smokey Robinson song. Love the songwriting on that. If you look close to my face, you'll see there's a trace, a track on just suburb writing there, catching what the feeling of, still being sad over, losing somebody. I love that. And then also I Second That Emotion was a huge hit for them. So lots of great stuff from that early 60s period, mid 60s period. I should say in that period anyway. So definitely belongs on this list. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles.
I like Mickey's Monkey.
Mickey's Monkey's another one. Yeah.
I prefer the Hollies version, but that's a good
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. I like the Hollies version. So I like Smokey Robinson as a songwriter more than as a performer. Yeah. Yeah. I
Actually agree.
agree there. It's a
I agree
great
with
song.
the singer part too, because there's an album from the Temptations called Temptation Seeing Smokey, and
Mm.
the songs like My Girl, and I think the Temptations did Smokey really good. They did him justice.
Wait, did Smokey write My Girl?
Yes.
Oh wow,
He wrote so many big songs. Yeah.
that's crazy because the Temptations version of My Girl is the one that everyone knows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. We're back to Garrett with your 7th inductee.
I'm running out of artists that connect with the last one. So I'm just going to call up Jim McGuinn, David Crosby, Gene Clark, and Chris Hillman to the stage.
Yeah.
And am I forgetting one of them? Or is that the Birds?
I think there's more members, but
Well,
you got the essential
I'm just
members.
talking about the the main
core.
group, the main
Yeah,
group,
yeah. I'm
who I
saying
think of when I think of the Birds.
even the classic lineup, there's still a couple, but yeah, you got the essential ones.
Yeah.
Okay. The Birds, starting out with their 1965 debut album, Mr. Tambourine Man, brought the world of folk rock to the forefront with McGuinn's jangly Rickenbacker guitars and their sweet harmonies and their interpretation of some of Bob Dylan's music and really making it their own. And then they went on to expand on that with Turn, 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 writing a song out of the Bible, actually, from Proverbs, I think. And
Ecclesiastes.
oh, sorry, I didn't. It is Ecclesiastes. Good grief! I was thinking the wrong thing, but
All right.
yeah, I know exactly what you're.
Yeah.
I said the wrong book. And then covering "Oh Susanna" as their final song on that album, even, and some of the other more great Bob Dylan covers, and then going on to turn that upside down and create great psychedelic music like on the Fifth Dimension album with 8 Miles High and some of the interpretative guitar solos on that, and going on to create my favorite album of theirs, Younger Than Yesterday, which comes from their cover of Bob Dylan's My Back Pages, which is it's an excellent Bob Dylan cover, and So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star, absolutely amazing. Everyone's Been Burned Before, which sounds like if the Birds ever wrote a James Bond theme, honestly. That's what it reminds me of. Just because it uses that Bond chord progression in it. And just so many other great songs on that album. And the Notorious Birds Brothers, I love that one as well. Having an album where all of the songs go into each other. I love Artificial Energy, Going Back, and Get to You. Just so many amazing songs on that album as well. And I know they went on to change their sound. They were really influential in country rock after that. They got Graham Parsons, who would go on to form the Flying Burrito Brothers, where Bernie Ledden left that band to join the Eagles. So there's another Eagles connection. We had Buffalo Springfield with Poco, and then the Eagles, and now we had the Birds, and then the Flying Burrito Brothers, and then the Eagles. So everyone has an obscure connection to the Eagles somehow. But I have not listened to anything past that. I know that their albums get very spotty after that, but those first few albums with the original members are really the ones that I feel like what get them a spot in this Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Just their harmonies mixed with the jangly guitars and the experimentation that they put into some of their songs, as well as just the amazing folk rock sound that they had. It's really what put them on this list for me. And I just got into them this year.
Yeah. I will say this. The Flying Burrito Bros first album, to me, is a lot better than Sweethearts of the Rodeo.
I should give it a listen because
you know how much of a big fan I am of Sweethearts of the Rodeo, so
yeah.
But what I have to say about the Birds, they're they're another band that was an innovator, the first to do something. They're actually the first band to really go psychedelic with 8 Miles High. I know there's some people who are like, "Oh, Beatles was the first to do psychedelic." Like, yeah, is the Byrds really? I mean, again, the Beatles were the ones that make it really popular, but yeah, the Byrds were the first to really influence psychedelic music into rock with 8 Miles High. That song is very influential in the psychedelic rock scene. So, if you want to take a band for psychedelic music, think the Byrds.
Well, the Byrds basically invented the folk rock genre, which is a good enough reason as any to put them into the Music Hall of Fame, because I love the folk rock genre. It's like one of my favorite, the 60s period. To me, it was like the British Invasion came in and the Beatles came in with the British Invasion, and Gene Clark and Gwen heard that and was like, oh man, we want to do something like that, but doing something a little different, and infusing the British Invasion with their own folk style, inventing the genre, I think, folk rock, which, I mean, the British Invasion was so huge. The folk rock was like the American, answer or something.
To that.
What was going on there?
I call it the American Revolution.
The British are coming. The British are coming. Oh, really? Not if we have anything to say about it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, love the Byrds. Great band. All right, Nick. Now it's your 7th inductee.
Speaking of an answer to the British Invasion, we have a British Invasion band right now. Come on, Ray Davies, Dave Davies, and the other members. Forgot the names. Wait, let me. I need it. I love the Kings, and I feel ashamed for not knowing the members, the other 2 members. Nick Avery and Pete Quaife. I don't know how to say that other one, but yeah. Well, most importantly, Dave Davies and Ray Davies come right up. The Kinks.
The Kinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Kinks. One of my all-time favorite bands of all time. They are just amazing. The first 3 albums, I say this a lot, they didn't start as an albums band. Sadly not. They were more of a singles band.
Right.
But like you really got me, even though they weren't a album band at those first 3 songs, like Got Me, Tired of Waiting for You, Till the End of the Day. There's even like a lot of great hidden gems on their albums, like I'm on an Island, nothing's in this world's keeping me from my baby.
David Watts.
Well, we're gonna get to that period. There's a lot of hidden gems on those first 3 albums, but yeah, they were not an album fan at first. But one day in 1965, the brothers got into a fight. Then they were like, nope, get out of this country for 4 years. And that's when...
Yeah, that's right. They were... Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
Get out of this country for 4 years. You're not performing here. And then Ray Davies was like, you know what? I'm done appealing to you Americans. I'm going to do what I want to do now. And they made 5 of the greatest albums of all time. Some of the best albums of all time. Face to Face. Something Else by the Kinks. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Lola versus Power Man and the Great Money Go Round Part 1. Those 5 albums are just top to bottom masterpieces. Let me tell you some of the best songs from this era. Party Line, Too Much of My Mind, Session Man, Holiday in Waukee, Fancy, Sunny Afternoon, David Watts, Two Sisters, Tin Soldier Man, Loving Till the Sun Shines, Afternoon Tea, End of the Season, Waterloo Sunset, the title track to the Village Green Preservation Society album, Do You Remember Walter, Picture Book, Johnny Thunder, Lots of the Steam Power Train, Big Sky, Sitting by the Riverside, Animal Farm, Village Green, Starstruck, Phenomenal
You're just listing the whole album now.
Yep. Because it's my second favorite album of all time. All my friends were there. Wicked NFL, Monica, People Take Pictures of Each Other. Arthur's album has Victoria, driving, brainwashed. My all-time favorite song by them, Australia, Shangri-La, Mr. Churchill Says, Young and Innocent Days, Nothing to Say, Arthur, and
Love
then we
that
get to
song.
Lola, which has The Contenders, Denmark Street, Strangers, Get Back in Line. Can't stand Lola for the life of me. That song's the worst out of all the songs on their 5 albums. The verses are good, but the chorus I can't stand. But still good song nonetheless. The Money Go Round, Top of the Pops, Power Man, 8 Man. Those songs are just
I'm
the
an
fact
eight
that they,
man. I'm an eight man. I'm
the
an eight
fact that
man. I'm an eight man. I love that song. I don't know why it's so stupid, but it's funny.
the fact that they were able to make all those songs in this 5 year period, to me, is why they're one of my favorites. But even after them, they made some really good albums. I like Percy. Usual Hillbillies is great. Everybody's in Showbiz is amazing. Got a weird Pete Townsend phase with Preservation Act 1, 2, Soap Opera, and School Days and Disgrace, but there's still a lot of great songs in that period. Uh, I love Sweet Lady Guinevere, Daylight, Where Are They Now, uh, School Days, Shack the Idiot Dunce, The Hard Way, uh, Everybody's a Star Maker, Ordinary People, Have Another Drink. There's just a lot of great songs in that period. But yeah, and then they had this revival period with in the U.S. called it's like 5 albums. It's not as good as the other 5 albums. But Sleepwalker, Misfits, Low Budget, Give the People What They Want, and Stay the Confusion. Those albums are great, and that's like way past their prime, in my opinion. And even after their fire burn, they end up making more great albums. Some bands just flame out, and then they just couldn't make a great album after that. The Kinks prove that you still can make great albums. Them and the Stones. Uh, love Sleepwalker. I love jukebox music. Uh, I love Misfits. I love Rock and Roll Fantasy. I mean, 2 of the songs is literally named like was named before the Rush made their albums, Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures. It had to have been Kinks fans. Rush, Daily, Lifeson, or must have been like it must be Kinks fans. It can't be coincidental that 2 songs that would be end up being on 2 Rush albums, like Sleepwalk, Misfits had Permanent Waves, and then the one after it with Low Budget had Moving Pictures. Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures came out simultaneously, so yeah, I don't know. Low Budget, the entire album's great. Uh, and the '80s with Give the People What They Want, that's great. Stay Confusion. I mean, I showed a little bit of Jason earlier with Come Dancing. That song's amazing, and that's like almost 10 years. That's literally 10 years. Like no, that's literally 20 years after they formed to make
Yeah.
Really Got Me. So 20 years later, they're still making great songs. So yeah, this band has to be in the inducted Hall of Fame. They have to be.
What makes me very upset is that I really want a copy of something else, but I can't find one for the life of me at a good price.
It's because the UK and all that is just.
Well,
The reason why is because they didn't sell that well because of how obscure they were.
all of them didn't sell well. Like I'm surprised that I found Village Green and Lola for a good price.
Gotcha.
Briar has a question. If you guys know the answer, who would win in a fight, Monkey Man or 8 Man?
8 Man.
8 Man.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but
It's a Rolling Stones song. Monkey
Oh, is
Man
it?
versus 8 Man.
is it?
Yeah. I love Monkey Man though. It's Mick Jagger singing "I'm a monkey."
Monkey Man. Yeah. Well, that was a great.
Sorry for getting way too excited for the Kinks. They're just
Yeah, that was a
me
great
and Jason,
inductee.
me and Jason on my channel. We're doing a series on them.
Yeah.
This is just my abbreviated. This is just abbreviated. We talk about the Kinks. When we talk about the
Yeah.
Yellow Street Preservation Society album, we're gonna hear a lot of complimentary.
Mhm. Yeah, can't wait to get to that one. Yeah, great one. The Kinks, definitely deserving. I'm still getting into them, so I'll have more opinions later. Well, so my 7th inductee, I'm going back with Motown and inducting one I think maybe the best Motown group of all time, and that is the Temptations. Another group out of course Detroit area, formed in 1960. It's of course one of those great groups of like five guys who all sing together, very good harmonies. Usually have a lead singer out in front. I love the lead singer out in front, and the back guys are doing the
Yeah.
choreographed moves and doing the back vocals. So good, But yeah, growing up, man, when I was listening to 60s music, like one of the biggest songs I think for me is their big hit in 1964, "My Girl." I mean, that is one of the great 60s songs I think, and one of the great Motown songs of all time. It's one I love singing to still. The "My Girl, My Girl, My Girl." I mean, I love that how they do that. Talking about my girl. Yeah, amazing song. One of their biggest ones that came out and really put them on the map, I think. Then you got songs like Ain't Too Proud to Beg, huge hit for them, really good. I Wish It Would Rain, I Can't Get Next to You, Ball of Confusion, Cloud Nine. And then in 1984, they even had a hit with Treat Her Like a Lady, which is another really good one. They also had Just My Imagination, a really great 60s song. And then Papa Was a Rolling Stone, which was one of their number one hits, I know. Was hit a little bit later on, I think, in the 70s, and it was a huge hit. Also, The Way You Do the Things You Do, another great song for them. They had so many great hits during the 60s period. They had 4 number one singles in total, 14 number one R&B singles, and they won a total of 3 Grammy Awards during their career. They're the first Motown group to win a Grammy and get a Lifetime Achievement Award, to show you how really they're one of the tops in the Motown group. In 2023, they were ranked number 1 in Billboard's 100 Greatest R&B / Hip Hop Artists of All Time. Number 1, they were voted. So just to tell you how highly they're thought of. It's hard I couldn't name who's in the Temptations because they changed their lineup so much. They had a lot of people coming in at that group, so I don't really know names, unfortunately. See, when Dave Ruffin sang, they were great. Yeah, Dave Ruffin, one of their big singers there. Overall, they had 44 albums, which I was kind of surprised they had so many albums.
Wow.
Even after they weren't that popular, they just kept making albums, and they must have gone through so many changes. I don't know what it would sound like later on, but it's crazy how many albums they get. They kept going, but yeah, Temptations, one of the great Motown groups. I'm inducting into our Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they were really good. I don't have a whole lot to say. You basically hit the nail on the head. They had one of my favorite, I wouldn't say all-time favorites, but they have a really good album called Temptations Sing Smokey. That's
Right.
the album of theirs. That's definitely their best album. If you're going to check out a Temptation album, check that one. It has The Way You Do Things You Do and Hey Girl. My Girl, I mean. But yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Like I said, I haven't really listened to any of their albums. I just know their singles mostly, but, that was kind of before albums. Motown groups, you don't think about their albums as much, I don't think, but
Yeah.
at least I don't.
Yeah, you should definitely check that album out, though. That's a. Like when we
definitely.
do 50 other essential albums with the 3 of us, that's definitely an album I'm gonna put on.
Okay. All right, Garrett, you're 8th inductee.
Okay. Just get ready because I'm about to list a lot of names. If I could get
I know.
Peter Green, Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Christine McVie, Danny Kerwin, Bob Welsh, Bob Weston, Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks to the stage. Okay, maybe that's not as many as I thought, but still.
Jeremy Spencer sitting in the background, being like, just watching them.
Fleetwood Mac. This band was influential ever since 1968. The reason why we have them in our 60s series is because they were really influential in the 60s and then went on to become influential in the 70s as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of coming off the trail of John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. There was some members of that group John McVie and Mick Fleetwood and Peter Green, who were all part of that group, who decided that they kind of wanted to do their own thing. Apparently, if you were in the Blues Breakers, you got some free studio time, and so they, in their free time, would go and jam in the studio and record it. And they named one of their songs that was an instrumental song, Fleetwood Mac, named after Fleetwood and Mac, or Fleetwood and McVie. And Peter Green was like, we should call our band that and make our own band. And Peter Green was the guitar player. And so Peter Green, Mick Fleetwood, and John McVie joined with Jeremy Spencer and created a blues rock band in 1968 with their first album entitled Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. And it was kind of more of a traditional style blues album. They had two kind of traditional blues style albums, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac and Mr. Wonderful. And then in 1969, first in 1968, they released a few singles. They got a guy named Danny Kerwin to join them, another guitar player, because they wanted to bring some variety on, and they released the single Albatross, which is a really cool instrumental song. You should definitely check that out if you never heard Albatross. I know John Lennon really liked that song. He says that kind of inspired the intro to Sun King.
Yeah.
But like, even if you watch the Beatles Get Back documentary on Disney Plus, like, he talks a little bit about Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, that's what Briar's saying, I think.
Yeah, it was John. Huh. He was talking about Fleetwood Mac, and like that's even why when he did the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance, he called his band's name the Dirty Mac, a play on words from Fleetwood Mac. And after they released Albatross, they released another single called Black Magic Woman, which Santana would go on to cover that song, but Fleetwood Mac did it first, and that's kind of a very different sound than. No, did I freeze?
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
I think it's Jason. Okay, I'll probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I go out?
Yeah. Okay. Black Magic Woman is very different sounding than their other blues stuff. It's more experimental and psychedelic, and I really like the direction they went in with that song. Apparently, they did as well, because on their next album, Then Play On, they kind of took more of a direction from that song, kind of more experimental. There's still a little bit of blues, but the blues that they do have is a lot better than on their first two albums, like Showbiz Blues. And then there was this famous single called Oh Well that came out, which features some great guitar playing from Danny Kerwin on that, as well as Peter Green has this cool kind of nylon string acoustic guitar thing he does, which is called Oh Well Part 2. That was the B-side. And there's some like really good flute playing as well. But my favorite part is the part 1 where Danny Kerwin has that really great guitar riff that and then it kind of stops and Peter Green just like sings without anybody playing behind him. Oh, but first like Mick Fleetwood has like a cowbell like can't help about the shape I'm in, and I can't sing, my ain't pretty and my legs are thin. Well, don't ask me what I think of you. I might not give the answer that you want me to. And the guitar comes back in. Oh, well. And then they just go off into this jam session. And it's just this really hard driving beat. It sounds really cool. And then they get back into singing again, and it's just a really good song. Probably one of my 10 favorite Fleetwood Mac songs, even though I mostly prefer their later era. But this is still one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs. And then Peter Green left after that album because he felt that the pressures of being famous were a bit too much for him. He just kind of wanted to make music. And Fleetwood Mac, after releasing Oh Well, was getting much more recognized than he would have liked to. Yeah. So he didn't like the pressures of being famous, so he had left the group and was replaced by Bob Welsh 2 years later. But first they released their Kiln House album with Danny Kerwin kind of being the main force behind the band. And then Bob Welsh joins for Future Games. I have the Future Games album. It's really funny because on the back of the Future Games album, it goes through all the changes of Fleetwood Mac that happened between then, which I think is funny that they included that on the back of the album about which member was there since the beginning and which members had joined later on. Huh. And on the Kiln House album, John McVie's wife, Christine, starts playing keyboards. And by the album Future Games, she starts actually writing songs on the album, and her songs are all really good. She's probably my first or second favorite member of Fleetwood Mac. It's between her and Lindsey Buckingham.
I know Barbara likes.
She's my favorite because she was consistently good throughout the course of
Yeah.
the time. My favorite era of hers was when she was with Bob Welch, when Bob Welch was in the band. But her music from Future Games all the way to all of her music was very consistently good. That's probably why she would be my favorite.
Yeah. But like every time she writes a song, it's great. Bob Welch is mostly great with his songs. He has a few that are not as interesting, but I really like Bob Welch. I think he's much better who he replaced in the band whenever he joined. I really like Danny Kerwin as well, even though he left after Future Games. But Future Games is a really underrated Fleetwood Mac album. The title track is
Actually, he
very.
left after Bear Trees. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, never mind. But
Yeah, Penguin was the first without him.
the title track is very Pink Floyd sounding, and I really like that. Great guitar playing on that one. Bare Trees, another really great underrated album by them. Penguin, another really great underrated album by them.
Night Watch was with Peter Green. That was the last track with Peter Green on it.
I love the one that where Bob Welch and Peter Green are like dueling guitars on that one. I really like that.
Love that
and Mystery to Me, honestly, in my opinion, their first really, really great album. Well, we got Then Play On, which is great. I think Then Play On is their great album. But then Mystery to Me is like their next really, really great album. Even though I love Future Games, I bought it. And I love Penguin as well. But Mystery to Me is my favorite of the Bob Welch era. It's got lots of great songs on it. I love Emerald Eyes, which is kind of the title track to the album because he says she's still a mystery to me a lot on that song. Hypnotize, which was kind of Fleetwood Mac's first big hit with Bob Welch. All the Christine songs, especially Why. And Heroes Are Hard to Find is a pretty good album as well, but I don't like it as much as Mystery to Me. And then Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks replaced Bob Welch after that, and they would go on to become even more successful after that, releasing their self-titled album in 1975. Great hits on that one, like Rhiannon, Landslide.
Landslide, so good.
Say That You Love Me. And some really underrated songs on that album as well, like Crystal, which is a song that was repurposed from the Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks debut album. Their one solo album they had before the one that kind of got them noticed by Fleetwood and Mac. And then they released this album called Rumors that you might have heard of after that. Yeah. One of the greatest albums of all time. Secondhand News, absolutely amazing. Dreams, fantastic. I love the bass on that one. Don't Stop, amazing. Christine and Lindsey Buckingham both singing on that one. I like their voices actually work really well on that one. Go Your Own Way, probably their biggest hit. Absolutely amazing. I love Lindsey Buckingham's guitar solo on that one. Never Going Back Again, one of their most underrated songs. Very difficult guitar on that one. I love that song. It's so great. Oh, my microphone, something happened and it started making better sounds. But I love Never Going Back Again. It's absolutely amazing. I love The Chain. That's really great. That's a great song. Used in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Mm-hmm. But I think I knew it from Rumors first. Most people did. Mm-hmm. You Make Loving Fun. Possibly my favorite song on the Rumors album. It's amazing. I love the kind of funky beat of it. Even though I thought that it was a Billy Joel song at one point. And Gold Dust Woman and Oh Daddy, those are also great. But I know Gold Dust Woman gets played on the radio a lot, but honestly, that's never been one of my favorites on the album. I think Silver Strings would have been a much better song to end the album on. And that doesn't stop there, though. In 1979, they released Tusk, which has some absolutely amazing songs on it as well. Like Sarah, really great Stevie Nicks song. Yeah. I forget the names of the Christine songs, but they're amazing as well. Sisters of the Moon, another great Stevie Nicks song. And then I know it's very polarizing, but I think the real star of this album is Lindsey Buckingham because he is just going crazy with experimenting on this album. He built a full-scale reproduction of his bathroom in the studio so that he could get an exact echo. He sang while he was doing push-ups, created all these crazy-sounding songs, and a lot of people think that doesn't work, but for me, I actually really like that because he's trying to do something different than Rumors. And the title track Tusk is just absolutely incredible. I love they bring a marching band in. It's probably my second favorite Fleetwood Mac album. And then they released my third favorite Fleetwood Mac album in 1982, Mirage. That's another amazing one. I really like the song Hold Me. I know that was kind of the big hit on that album. Lindsey Buckingham has a really cool guitar solo at the end of that. I only listened to that album once, but I remember just like all the songs being really good on that one. And then Tango in the Night, another absolutely amazing album. Kind of them leaning into more 80s sounds, but it really works for them, especially the song Everywhere that was written by Christine McVie. I forget which album Little Lies is on. Is that on Tango in the Night? I think it is. That's a good one as well.
Tango in the Night. That's my favorite off of that.
But I have not listened any further than that, but I don't intend to for a while because I hear it gets kind of bad after that. But Fleetwood Mac, just an absolutely amazing band in pretty much any iteration that you listen to them.
Yeah, he's got 3 more albums after that. Well, so another plug. Me, Breyer, and Garrett, we're going through our Fleetwood Mac series.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you're ready, because I'm ready to tear up Mr. Wonderful when you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready anytime. We could. You free tomorrow?
I have to work 1:30 to 9:30 tomorrow.
Okay.
It's horrible. My schedule this week, all my shifts are either 1:30 to 9:30 or 3 to 11 p.m. I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm gonna ask the group chat on well, we have a Fleetwood Mac group chat. I'll ask you and Briar what days we can do that review on.
Okay.
Briar says, I heard rumors that Rumors is a pretty good album, but only Rumors. That's done. Only Briar can do.
Well, don't stop thinking about the Rumors because they'll soon be here.
Keith says they asked Buckingham to join the group and said only if Nix was part of the deal.
Very, very good decision there because Stevie Nicks brought quite a lot to that group.
Brian says, I will not hold back on Mr. Wonderful. Okay. That's another
one.
You're gonna
me, Garrett, and Briar, we're gonna
really tear it out.
You're gonna make the genius upset.
Yep. The genius. Well, this is gonna be one time where the trippy hippie's gonna be like, yeah, I actually agree with that. Well, the use riff is very loud, very loud. I agree.
Trippy Hippie does not like his acoustic guitar, so he would not like Rumors.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that the Genius video was the first video that I recorded on. I have a 2000s Sony camcorder that takes like video cassettes, and it's the first video I made that was recorded on that.
Oh, anything like to say, Jason?
Nah, not much more to say. You guys know more about Fleetwood Mac than I do. I just know Rumors is a great album. That's what I know.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the top 10 greatest albums of all time. I mean, if you talk about album sales and popularity.
Yeah. After listening to all the other Fleetwood Mac albums, like, I was happy that I did, but I was also kind of disappointed that nothing topped Rumors. I was like, that's the one I listened to, and like, there's nothing that can beat that.
Yeah.
I'm happy I found 3 albums that could top Rumors.
But now, I was very happy that I found Tusk and Mirage, though. Those I have Tusk and Mirage now as well.
Tusk, and then
I also got some Bob Welsh with Mystery to Me and Future Games, and then I got one Peter Green album, Then Play On, just because I like I don't really like the blues, the first 2 blues albums, but I like the third one, Then Play On, especially because my one has Oh Well on it, and that's my favorite Peter Green Fleetwood Mac song.
Cool.
All right, Dick, you got your 8th inductee.
Okay. Come up, Eric Hayden. Hey Doc. come up Bobby Elliott, come up Graham Nash, come up Alan Clark, and come up I can't. My head's hurting right now, so I can't think properly. Tony Hicks,
Tony Hicks, yeah.
come up, you five. Come up, you five. Yep, it is the Hollies. Yes,
Yeah.
love the Hollies. Man, they're such an underrated albums band. You know, when you think about the Hollies, you think about their great singles like On a Carousel, Carrie Ann, Bus Stop, Look Through Any Window.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just way more than that, in my opinion. They're an amazing albums band. I mean, the first album doesn't show it. Stay with the Hollies, not that good. But In the Hollies album brings it up a lot. Great album. Self-titled is amazing. I think that's besides Stay with the Hollies, I think that's the only album that you heard, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Those two.
We only heard Stay with the Hollies and another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to fix that with some Butterfly and some Evolution.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason, he said he's going through a Hollies discography.
For certain because.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, before For Certain Because was their first 66 album, Would You Believe, which is their last I call it their For Certain Because albums. Kind of like what Dio fans call like pre-Rubber Soul. For Certain Because is an amazing album. What's Wrong with the Way I Live, Pay You Back with Interest, Tell Me to My Face, Suspicious Look in Your Eyes, Crusader, What Went Wrong, Stop, Stop, Stop. All those songs on the album are just ear candy. It's just amazing. And it's their first album with all originals. Then there's Evolution, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. It was released the same day as Sgt. Pepper's. Then The Heartaches Begin, Stop Right There, Water on the Rain, Lullaby to Tim. I actually like Lullaby to Tim, even though it has a weird vocal effect. Have You Ever Loved Somebody, which is starting to slowly become my favorite Holly song.
It's mine.
You Need Love, Rain on the Window, Heading for a Fall, Real Top. Basically, what the heck?
Lullaby to Tim.
The hint for Lullaby to Tim. When Your Lights Turn On is amazing. Leave Me is amazing. The Games We Play is amazing. The whole album is amazing. I think it's a Butterfly. And I'm like, it's like Pet Sounds fused with Sgt. Pepper's, fused with early Bee Gees. Three combinations I love. Dear Eloise, Away, 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 Maker, Pegasus. Literally, Pegasus literally sounds like something that Robin Gibb from the Bee Gees would sing. It's one of the few songs with Tony Hicks as their lead vocalist on the song. What Do You Believe? That's another song that has early Bee Gees written all over it. Wish You a Wish is it's like Graham Nash's attempt at a Paul McCartney goof song, like When I'm 64 and Honey Pie. I like that one. Postcard, not to confuse it with the Who song that would be released way after. That's amazing. Great. You know what I love about Butterfly is that this album this is like Graham Nash's child almost. A lot of lead vocals from him. This is basically Graham Nash being like, hey, let's try to go into heavy uncharted territory. And the Hollies were not digging it that much, but they made this album, and but then sadly, 1968 they were to record the Bob Dylan album, Hollies Sing Dylan. Graham Nash was not happy with it. He was like, he heard they recorded Blowing in the Wind. This is kind of like, here's a good representation of what happened. He was listening to the song. He was like, what is this Rat Pack bullshit? He's like, I hate this. This is awful. And I was like, we want to do a full album of that. He's like, no. Either we do what I want, which is Marrakesh Express and all the stuff that would be on CSN, their first album, or I leave the band. And
he was doing like Midas Touch and Reverse, whatever, and
yeah, King Midas in Reverse was the first song. Yeah. Was the first song in a while that didn't get to number 10, and That was
Yeah.
a big blow to his
Yeah.
ego.
The crime of the century.
Like Graham Nash was like he had his big ego almost. Like Siri, sorry, this
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
clicked on this thing and it's like Siri
Yeah.
popped up. Sorry, but he had like this big ego going because he had hit singles. People were liking his music. But then like King Midas in reverse failed, and that just took a big blow to his ego. He tried recording America's Express, sort of like the way that they made Maxwell Silver Hammer. Graham Nash was not happy with any of the takes that was going on with the Hollies. He's like, can't do that. Do it again. And they got to the point where the Hollies were like, nope, we're not recording this. We're done. The way that the Hollies said it was that like Graham Nash was the bad guy, and the way Graham Nash worded it was like they were the bad guys. Sort of like CCR. But yeah. Then they made their Holly Dillon album without Graham Nash. They hired a new guy called Terry Sylvester. He was a good replacement. Obviously not nearly as talented as Graham Nash, but then they would make these 3 albums. And I'm like, wow, like they're actually doing a good job without Graham Nash.
I know. It's crazy.
Holly College, Confessions of the Mind, and Distant Light. Like, even though like most of the singles weren't on there, Oh Suzanne, The Air That I Breathe,
So good.
Big Heavy's My Brother, Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress, they were still making hits even without Graham Nash. So
Yeah.
it's showing that even without Graham Nash, you're still capable of making great stuff.
Oh yeah.
Then they had 2 albums without Alan Clark because Alan Clark wanted to do a solo album, and then like the band was like, "Oh, either you do the solo album and you get out of the band, or you stay with us." And Alan Clark decided to go on the solo album, and then like after the 2 albums were all Clark, they're popular sort of to dip, and or like, and then Tony Hicks went to a bar, like saw him at a bar, he was like, "Please come back to the Hollies." And he's like, "Okay, I didn't really want to leave in the first place. You guys kind of kicked me out. Like, please come back." Then they made a second self-titled album, which is Hollies. I call it Holly 74. It includes The Air That I Breathe. Great stuff. Another Night. Very Steely Dan influenced. They were big fans of Steely Dan at the time. Really good album.
I need to listen to that then.
Yeah, it's very Steely Dan inspired. They were big fans of Steely Dan at the time. Then they made this is like a big like these then the 5 albums after that were just okay. Russian Roulette, Right On, Crazy Steel, 531, Buddy Holly. Those are just okay albums. Definitely not as good as some of their other albums that they would make, but yeah.
Buddy Holly.
Then they had a reunion. What's that?
There's an album called Buddy Holly, like HOLLIE.
Yeah, they actually did a full album full of Buddy Holly covers.
Cool.
Then they made an album called What Goes Around, and to me that's their last great album. It's the last album with Graham Nash on it. He came back because the way I look at it is that like Graham Nash was starting to realize how little popular the Crosby, Stills and Nash was happening. He was like, maybe I could come back to the Hollies. And then after this album, he just leaves them again. They were going to make 2 more albums after that called Staying Power, which me and Adam were talking about that album. It's a good album. And yeah. But yeah, number 8, The Hollies. Very underrated album, Dan.
Yeah.
Very excited to hear your opinion on it, Jason.
Yeah. I think Adam saw them in concert recently.
What?
Yeah.
And the only members are Tony Hicks and the drummer, I think, is the only
Bobby
original
Elliott.
members. Yeah. Which to me, it's like it's hard to be the Hollies without either Graham Nash or Alan Clark in there.
Oh yeah, I saw Chicago, and the only members left were Robert Lamb and one of the horn players. It's like this is like watching a really good Chicago cover band with Robert Lamb.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to see Chicago when they came around this area, because I was like, I didn't feel like real Chicago.
They put on a good show, but
yeah,
I mean, it was good to see Robert Lamb. He's my favorite member of Chicago. But
yeah, he's great.
Like, it's like Terry Kath died in the 70s.
Yeah.
Peter Cetera's have been with the band since the 80s.
Yeah.
Like two of the horn players had, like, one of them had quit, and the other one was like sick and they had to get a replacement player. Danny Seraphin, their drum player, hadn't been with them since like the 80s or the 90s. It's like I don't know, none of the original members are here other than Robert Lamb and one of the horn players. And I'm like, even though it was a really good concert, like it just wasn't the same.
Yeah, because I mean, to see the Hollies, I'd want to see Graham Nash or Alan Clark in there, but
Yeah,
I was
it's
talking
like
to Adam. Sorry, I said I was
Oh.
talking. Oh, sorry.
talking about
you go first.
Yeah, I was talking to Adam, me and him, and I was like, "So you know what? We're owed a Hollies album. We're owed a new Hollies album.
right, yeah.
We got a new Beatles song. We got a new Rolling Stones album. We're due at least a new Hollies song with Graham Nash, Tony Hicks, Alan Clark.
Yeah.
We
You need
definitely
those.
need a new Hollies
You need
music.
those three, in my opinion, are the three big ones in the group. I mean, the drummer's good too, but
I gotta agree with Tony Hicks though. Very underrated member.
but the three together harmonies are really good.
Like I said,
Hicks,
sorry.
surprisingly, pretty good singer, and he's not even one of the main singers.
But
What I was gonna say is it's kind of unlike when I went to see Elton John. He's got like Nigel Olsen is, I think is his name, the drummer, and Davy Johnstone is the guitar player. Ray Cooper, the percussionist, like all the guys, other than Dee Murray, the bass player who had died before, everybody else was like the same person who played on all his records back in the 70s and was his touring band for forever.
yeah. But what I gotta say though is that with the Hollies is that like them, the Beatles, and the Mamas and Papas, they're my top three favorite groups in terms of harmonies.
Yeah.
Like those three bands go hand in hand. I know people might be like, "Oh, what about the Beach Boys?"
Beach Boys, yeah, I was gonna say, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the harmonies are nowhere near as good as the Hollies are. The
wow.
Beatles are the Mamas and Papas.
Okay. All right. Let's go with my eighth inductee, which I'm gonna go back to the British Invasion era, and actually one of my favorite, actually kind of I almost want to say underrated British Invasion band, and that is the Hermit Hermits, coming out of Manchester, England. And I would say this is more, you categorize them as like bubblegum pop music. But I actually really like their sound and the upbeatness of it, and the poppiness of it. I think it's really good.
I know one song by them. Are they the ones
really?
who do "I'm in a really
Yes.
I am
Yes.
in a really I am"? I think that's the only song I know by them.
Yes. And that was a big hit.
Second verse, same as the first.
And I think this band is not. I mean, the only member I really know is Peter Noon. I don't really know the other members, but I feel like Peter Noon is like the major. He's the lead singer. He's the one you got to know, I think. And he still does concerts today, and he does a good job. I've seen some footage of him still doing pretty good out there. I know my mom saw him maybe 20 years ago in concert and has a picture. She got a picture with him after the concert. She has, which is kind of just crazy because she was like a huge Hermits fan as a little girl in the 60s. What I had to put Hermit Hermits in there because I think they're kind of underrated, because I believe they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, kind of like the Monkees. But I think they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, because even though they had kind of a small period of time where they were big, still they were one of the biggest bands of that time period. Maybe, I don't know, maybe more in the UK, but in the US too, because like I said, my mom was a huge fan. And I mean, it's definitely one of those bands that definitely really was huge with the teenage girl crowd. I mean, because they're kind of the cute boys, they're young, and they're singing these, love songs and stuff, and they're poppy, but I still love it. And I know if you like I said, my mom would probably say she was a bigger Herman Hermits fan than she was a Beatles fan. In fact, and a bigger Monkees fan than Beatles fan, because they were, I don't know, more to that crowd at the time in the later 60s. I mean, the Beatles obviously were always huge with the teenage crowd, but still, they had two number one hits. One was the first kind of, I think, real big one was Mrs. Brown, You Got a Lovely Daughter, which is one of my favorite of theirs. A real fun song. And I'm Henry the Eighth I Am was a number one hit for them. So, which is crazy. Out of all their hit songs, I wouldn't think those would be the two, or that would be one of them. But yeah, that was pretty big for them. Also in the UK, they had a number one hit with I'm Into Something Good, was also a number one hit for UK. But US only had those two number one hits. But yeah, they were like, I remember I seen the footage on Beatles Anthology where they're talking about, I think they're maybe in 1965, 1966, somewhere in there. They're talking about how the Beatles this reporter was talking to these people about how the Beatles maybe are on the downward turn, like the Beatles aren't as big as they used to be. They're this fad that's like fading out. Like the Beatles aren't as big as they are they? And of course, all the girls are like, no, they're still huge. Like we still love them. And one girl said, I do like the Herman Hermits better than the Beatles. And I remember going, oh wow, like I never thought I'd hear someone say that. But that's how huge they were. Like some girls like preferred the Herman Hermits, their sound at the time. Anyways, but like I said, they had lots of huge hits with my favorite probably is Can't You Hear My Heartbeat. I think it's a really fun song. Silhouettes is a great song. Wonderful World, of course, great cover. A Must to Avoid. There's Kind of a Hush. No Milk Today, and Listen People, just to name some of their radio hits that were pretty common on the radio. Their first two albums were kind of the bigger albums from what I've researched, and I know Nick probably knows more than I do. But introducing Hermit Hermits and Hermit Hermits on Tour both went number 2 in the U.S., and those were kind of the two bigger albums they had. But yeah, so I'm inducting, I think, underrated and one of my favorite bands of the 60s, the Hermit Hermits. And I know Nick has more to say.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. They're such a great band. First time I ever heard them was Sirius XM. We were, I forgot where we were going to, but this was like back when I was just only listening to the Beatles, and I heard this. I'm like, what is this bubblegum Beatle wannabe group?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some. I'm Into Something Good. I didn't like them at first. I'm not gonna lie. I won't be a liar, but I'm going to love them. What really wanted me to get into them was I heard a King song. It's called Dandy, and this one commenter was like, "Oh, the Hermits does a really good cover of this." I'm like, Hermits. I only heard them for that one bubblegum song, and I heard the cover. I'm like, wow, it's actually really good. And I went back to their I'm Into Something Good. I love that song, and I started digging into their albums. Introducing Hermits is amazing. There's a lot of great hits off of it. I'm Into Something Good, Mrs. Brown. Well, not a lot, but Show Me Girl's great. But there are some really great deep cuts. Mother-in-Law.
Yeah.
I love Mother-in-Law.
That's a good one.
I remember like this was like this me, Jason, and Briar were going to be doing a tier list of all the British Invasion debuts, and I'm like,
yeah.
You said you listened to that one. I'm like, did you like Mother-in-Law?
Yeah, Mother-in-Law.
You're like, yeah, and I'm like, yes, I love that song. Some people hate that song because it's like, oh, it's white people doing black people music. Just listen to the song. It's a catchy pop song. Just don't care about the other stuff. It's a great pop song. I Understand Just How You Feel. Great ballad. First album's great. Second album's also great. Has my favorite hit from them. Can You Hear My Heartbeat? I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Henry. Yes, I Am is great. Very nice slow song called The End of the World. For Your Love. I actually usually I prefer the Yardbirds version, but vocally Peter Noone sings it better. I don't know, probably because For Your Love is a pop song and Peter Noone's a pop singer. Keith Relf is more of an R&B blues singer, so I think it suits Peter Noone better. Dream On's amazing. Don't Try to Hurt Me is good. Silhouettes is amazing. Heartbeat, great Buddy Holly song. I'll Never Dance Again's great. Tell Me Baby and Traveling Night. That's a great album. But my favorite album of theirs is Hold On. It's a soundtrack to one of their movies. They were kind of like the Beatles where they had movies. Hold On and Mrs. Brown.
Yeah.
Hold On's amazing. The Georgian Dragon, very British. We met at the inn called the Georgian Dragon. I'm
Yeah,
excited to hear what you think about that. Got a Feeling, Wild Love, Lean on a Lamppost is great. Where Were You at When I Need You? I prefer the grassroots version, but this version's good too. All the Things I Do for You, Baby, nice little waltz song. Gotta Get Away is really good. They had one song on this album with this one British girl called Shelley Fabris. She does lead vocals, and for some reason, very good song. I love that song. It's very under the radar. And then the last song on the album ends on such a great note. It's called "A Must to Avoid." Jason mentioned it. Great song. That's probably my favorite off the album. Both Sides of Hermits. Uh, Great album. This sort of swings both ways. Got a French song supposed to be like their answer to Michelle by the Beatles. A lot of good stuff. Uh, then they had their '67 album called "There's a Kind of Hush." They had a version. They had "No Milk Today." I don't know if you mentioned that song already.
yeah,
Love No
yeah,
Milk Today.
yeah. That's a good one.
Oh, love that song. Of course, the title track is amazing.
Jimmy Page played guitar and recording of Silhouettes.
Yeah, he was a session musician back then.
Yeah, he was a session musician. Yeah, that makes sense.
He played rhythm guitar on the Goldfinger theme,
Yeah,
James
yeah,
Bond,
I
and
heard
on
that. Yeah,
also on the Beatles instrumental Ringo's theme, "This Boy." He played the rhythm guitar on that as well on the U.S.
okay.
Hard Day's Night album.
Right. Okay.
He's a session man, a chord progression. That's a great King song. Yeah, there's a kind of Hush album's great. And then an album called Blaze, which is their way of trying to keep up with the times. Not one of my favorites. It's still a great album. There's still a lot of great songs on it, but I find it a little pathetic that they're trying to I don't know. I think when bands really try to keep up with the times, just I respect that they tried, but I don't know. And then their last album, Mrs. Brown, You Got a Lovely Daughter, another soundtrack album. There's two songs called Daisy Chain. I could care less about those. And then there's a song called The World Is for the Young. I could care less about that song too. But the rest of it, though, it's nice to be out in the morning, Holiday Inn. Ooh, She's Done It Again. There's a kind of Hush. Mrs. Brown. Those songs are amazing.
And you've talked about Graham Goldman. He's written a lot of big songs.
He's just the hit factory. That guy. He wrote so many hits
stuff for the holidays.
Yeah, that's what I gotta say about the Hermits. Great album band. They're another band I find very underrated as an album band. People, and yeah. I will say I do prefer their U.S. albums over the UK albums.
Yeah. All right. Then we're going to Garrett for your 9th inductee. Okay. In Halloween theme here.
If you haven't guessed who it is, it's a band that I got into just this year, and it's the Zombies.
The Zombies, yeah.
So the Zombies, and forgive me for not calling all their names. I know Rod Argent, Chris White, and Colin Blunstone. Those are the only names I can remember.
Argent, yeah.
But man, and they only really released officially 2 albums in their prime.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They were going to do a third one, but they broke up right before the band got popular. But man, their early singles are just absolutely amazing, especially She's Not There and Tell Her No.
Yeah,
absolutely long. It's great records. She's Not There is incredible. I love the piano, like the boom, 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 boom. And just the way that Colin Blunstone sings on that song, he's singing so passionately that he has to gasp for air in between lines, where he's like, it's wow.
He really goes out. Yeah.
Putting it all into it. And Tell Her No is a kind of a more chill song, and I really like that one as well. But
Good.
really, what put them in this Hall of Fame for me is their album Odyssey and Oracle.
Yeah.
One of the great albums of the 60s that kind of went unnoticed back when it was released. But Care of Self 44, an absolutely incredible song. A Rose for Emily, another incredible song. Maybe After He's Gone, Beechwood Park.
Can you hear me, Nick?
I can't.
Okay,
It's
so
not
it's
just
just
you.
Garrett.
Yeah.
This Garrett went out again.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah. We all
Yeah,
take
that's
turns, I guess.
yeah.
Having bad internet.
Yeah, they had a lot of great singles in between the first and second album though. That went unnoticed. I wish they put the effort that they put into that song, She's Not There, into the entire first album. Like I felt like they had all the effort into that one song, and then the other 13 songs was just them going through the motions. But I don't know. That's the main reason why I didn't induct the Zombies, because they had
Yeah.
like
I mean, of course, he's talking about Odyssey and Oracle. Of course, you get to probably my favorite. I mean, my favorite and their biggest song is Time of the Season. And probably based on the strength of Time of the Season, She's Not There, Tell Her No. I mean, they're worthy, I think, of the Hall of Fame just because those three songs are just absolutely amazing. Plus, the rest of that album is really good.
Like I would hope that they would be in the Hall of Fame, but I wouldn't do it myself, honestly.
They're in there, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you agreed with me a little too. Like yeah, I'm glad Garrett put that in there.
Curse you, internet.
I know, right?
Well, Nick, do you want to go with your ninth inductee while we wait for Garrett?
Sure. My number 9 goes to a band that I've known for a long time, but I've really gotten into their albums more. Me and Jason were talking about them a little bit after our Summer Buffalo series video. That is the Bee Gees.
Yeah, Bee Gees.
The British band that immigrated into Australia. Australia. They had 2 albums in just Australia. They go for thousands of dollars now on vinyl. First of which is Barry and the Bee Gees sing and play 14 Barry Gibb songs. That is one long album name. Yeah, if I have that as an essential album, just put Bee Gees sing 14 Bee Gees songs or something like that, because that is a long album name. But what makes this album great is that like it's basically a set list of a bunch of recordings that was from '63 all the way to '65, and one of them was called Timber, and that was their second single, and they were just kids when they made that song. They were writing songs like Timber when they were just little kids, and I'm just like,
yeah.
that's impressive. That's impressive that they could write songs when they're just basically kids.
Right.
I don't know. That just proves how talented they were.
Yeah.
There's a song called "And the Children Laughing." That's like very Birds like, very Rubber Soul like. I love that song. Love Claustrophobia. Very, very Beatle like, that album. A lot of their a lot of those '60s albums are like Beatle like. Spits and Specks is I call it their Revolver. Probably because it came out in '66. Bee Gees First. What a fantastic album. I think Garrett likes that album too. Yeah, it's a great album. It's their first album with well, you might be wondering, why is it called Bee Gees First if it's not their first album?
Right.
Well, it's their first international album. It's their first album in the UK, in Australia. Well, it's the first album that was outside of Australia. Let's just say that. Horizontal's amazing. Idea's great, but not as good. Odessa, one of my all-time favorite double albums, and I only listened to it properly like a couple of times. Let me just tell you a couple of songs on here. The title track, Marley Drive, Edison, Melody Fair, Lamplight, I Laugh in Your Face. Just top tier Bee Gees material. Love that album. Then they made an album called Cucumber Castle because Robin Gibb, which the brothers, they were starting to have turmoil, especially Robin and Barry. Like Barry wanted to put his songs on as singles, and then Robin wanted his songs as singles, and
Yeah, as brothers do.
Yeah. They were no longer a 5-man band. Robin left. The other two guys left. This is the only album, Cucumber Castle was the only Bee Gees album without Robin in it. All the other 20 albums have him in it.
Okay.
And their next album, Cheers On, is sort of like a slower album, but it's good. Has a great song called Lonely Days. I don't know if you ever heard that song before.
I don't know.
That's a great song. You should check it out. Then there's this 3-album period where it's just all ballads, and well, they're great on their own. Sitting through an entire album of just slow songs could get very boring. There are some great songs on each of the albums, though. But probably my two favorite of the ballad, like my two favorite ballads of theirs, are both on their Trafalgar album from 1971. That's going to be How Can You Mend a Broken Heart?
Yeah.
And the title track. Those two songs are amazing. Rather than that, all the songs sort of sound the same. But then you get to an album called Mr. Natural. They were starting to dip their feet into disco because they were starting to lose sales. Because who's gonna want to consistently buy albums of just slow ballads? It starts to become less interesting. But then this album called Main Course in '75. This album is just amazing. If this would be one album from the Bee Gees, you guys, 2 albums you should check out by them: Odessa from the early period and Main Course from the disco era. It's on Broadway. Jive Talk.
Yeah.
Win a Change.
Yeah.
Songbird. Can You Be Tender With My Love? All This Making Love. Country Lanes. Come On Over. Edge of the Universe. And Baby As You Turn Away. All 10 of those songs are amazing. Spoiler alert. That's in my top 5 of '75. That's how good that album is.
I love Nights on Broadway. I know that one. That one's
that's
great.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, Nights on Broadway's amazing, but
Nights on Broadway.
It's in my top. It's in my top 5 of best albums of 1975. So, and that's the first time I've ever heard that album. So
the only Bee Gees album I've heard is Spirits Alone, and that one's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I'll go into that when I get to that album. Children of the World is amazing. Not as good as Main Course, but still a great album. Saturday Night Fever, very iconic.
Enough said.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rumors. It kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Spirits Having Flown, I agree with you, Garrett. 3 songs are the singles. Right away, you're just blown away. But my favorite song isn't even any of the 3 singles. It's Spirits Having Flown, the title track. That's amazing song. I can't tell you about the last albums from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s because I didn't listen to them yet, but I'm impressed with what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, my number 9, Bee Gees.
Yeah, a great group. Yeah, definitely really big, maybe underrated somewhat, but definitely one I need to check out more.
Me too.
Oh yeah, you should. By the way, this is what I was talking about before. Is that like a lot of pre-disco fans are like, this is them before they sold out. This is way better.
Yeah.
If you like the disco stuff, kind of like what Garrett was with the Genius. This is like, they'll crap on the disco fans, and then like the disco fans would be like, this is crap. This is bad. I hate pre-disco Bee Gees. It's them mumbling nonsense. This is horrible. All that. And I'm like, can we just like both? Can we just like
Yeah.
both have a plethora of hits. Free Disco has Massachusetts. I started a joke.
Hmm.
In the event of something happening to me, say hi to my wife, Mr. Jones, or something. A lot of good hits from the pre-disco stuff. How can you mend a broken heart? And then you get the disco stuff with How Deep Is Your Love, Staying Alive, Jive Talk, Madam Broadway. It's like both eras has its hits. Both of them has their albums. So can we just like both, please? Can we stop arguing?
I'm thinking about starting a series called "It's Not Bad, It's Just Different."
Exactly.
It's not bad, it's just different. Spirits Having Flown by the Bee Gees. It's not bad, it's just different. Invisible Touch by Genesis. It's not bad, it's different. Chicago 17 by Chicago. Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like different. Like, can we just agree that the Bee Gees are great? Can we just stop arguing on which era is better?
Yeah.
I like the pre-disco era better, but I'm not gonna go around being like, pre-disco.
Yeah.
I like that music. It's good music. I hate when people attach to one era and then they get so defensive of their era that they crap on the other era.
Yeah.
Very big pet peeve of mine.
Me too. That's the Genius video.
Garrett, I don't know if you want to finish what you're saying about the zombies before I move on with my pick, or
We need to listen to the zombies with my giant ear. That's my Pink Floyd Echoes album.
okay.
Just wanted to put that up because I was excited to get that. I got that for $10. I'm so happy.
Nice.
It's actually called Metal.
Yeah, I know the name. I just called it Echoes because that's the best song on the album.
No, sorry.
But I was talking about all the great songs on Odyssey and Oracle. I Want Her, She Wants Me. This Will Be Our Year. And, of course, Time of the Season. You can't forget about that one.
Yeah.
But
best one.
I think the best one is Carousel 44. In my opinion, a lot of people would say Time of the Season.
Yeah.
I think Time of the Season is like my third or fourth favorite. I like Carousel 40, probably Carousel 44, Rose for Emily. Then it's either Time of the Season or Hung Up on a Dream after that. Mm-hmm. When we did our review, that was before we did top 5 songs, so I can't see what my top 5 were back then. We just did favorite songs, but
yeah,
I guess my top 5 now would be Carousel 44, Rose for Emily. I'll go with Time of the Season, and then Hung Up on a Dream, and This Will Be Our Year.
Yeah.
Butcher song's my favorite.
I love the Butcher song though. Sounds great. I have the album back there, Odyssey and Oracle. Mine has the cropped cover, unfortunately, but you can't get the original cover for cheap. And so I got the second pressing. But man, I really love to have that record in my collection because it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the best 60s albums.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I call it, to me, it's great Baroque pop. I call it Baroque pop.
Yeah. Especially Rose for Emily. That is straight Baroque pop.
Yeah, it's really
I say Village Green gets the Baroque territories as well. With Village Green and
That's why I really like Our House on Deja Vu because it reminds me a lot of the Zombies.
Okay, yeah. Cool. With my 9th inductee, I am going with one of my favorite folk rock bands. We talked about the Byrds, talked about Buffalo Springfield. Now I talk about the Lovin' Spoonful. Came out of Greenwich, New York. Was big around 64 to 68. Was kind of their big time period. Started by John Sebastian, who was the lead singer and also played guitar. And the lead guitar player is Al Yanovsky. Kind of interesting name. And I was saying before, Mama Cass, she was the one who introduces people to each other. And I'm pretty sure this was another case, if I remember right, where she introduced John Sebastian to Zal. and was like, "Yeah, you guys should, talk, kind of." And they, it's one of those things. It's always funny how a band starts, and it's like, yeah, they just start talking and be like they start liking what they're, liked each other's music, and I was like, yeah, let's start a band, and so then they were joined by Steve Boone on bass and Joe Butler on drums, and they come out with a really big hit called "Do You Believe in Magic," which became a pretty big hit for them. Really put them on the map, and helped them get their first album, which was "Do You Believe in Magic" was the name of their first album, which is, I think, a good album. I think definitely a solid album. It has maybe too many covers on it, but still, "Do You Believe in Magic" is just an amazing song. They had 7 consecutive top 10 singles at that point with "Did You Believe in Magic," "Daydream," Did you ever have to make up your mind?" "Summer in the City," "You Didn't Have to Be So Nice," "Rain on the Roof," and "Nashville Cat." So 7 top 10 singles there. So definitely very big there during this period. Their second album, which is "Daydream," is my favorite album of theirs, and I even put it in my top 100 favorite albums of all time. It was on my list. It's a really good album. It has more of their originals on it. "Daydream" is an amazing song. And then my favorite is actually "You Didn't Have to Be So Nice" is my favorite Lovin' Spoonful song. The back vocals, the harmonies are really good. And I love Sebastian's vocals. He's a great, I think, lead singer as well. And again, just some nice sound. To me, they're kind of a laid back, nice sounding sound to them that I really like, especially "Daydream." I mean, "Daydream" is a song that you just lay down and, just fall asleep to. It's just so soothing of a song. They had a #1 single in "Summer in the City." It was their only #1 single. But they had 2 singles that were #2 on the charts, and that was "Daydream" and Did You Ever Have to Make Up Your Mind?" Which, if you listen to that song, is a kind of a humorous song, very fun, really good, just fun, upbeat song, and the lyrics are very funny as well. But like I said, "Daydream" album went #2 in the U.S., so that was their best album chart-wise. Was that. In total, they only made 5 studio albums before John Sebastian kind of quit the group, and that was kind of the
Don't tell me Jason's cutting out now.
Man, I cut out right when I was talking. But I was pretty much done. But yeah, I love "Spoonful," great folk rock album of the '60s, and some of my favorite songs. So I have to induct them into the Music Hall of Fame because of that.
It's crazy how much alike me and Jason's music tastes in the '60s are. Because I love them too. Yeah, they're great. I'm so glad you had them in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with their best album being "Daydream." Mostly killer, very few filler.
I even love "Lena, Bald-Headed Woman," I think it is. It's such a funny song.
Yeah. I actually like that one. The one song I don't like is the rock and roll song with the "Mama, my mama said" or something like that. I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm not into when they try to get more bluesy. I'm not as into. I like just their more popish sound, and they have the jug band music is good, and yeah.
They're when the drummer sings, it's also great. Something Butler. Hold on, I forgot the name of some of the songs. "There She Is" and Butchie's Tune. Those are my 2 favorites because
Okay.
I don't know. I've always loved the drummer's voice. But fun fact, they were close to being the Monkees.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. Yeah, that's crazy, but yeah, that's true.
But they had to go through 2 conditions. Zoll had to be kicked out of the band, and they had to be called the Monkees.
I know they had to change their name to the Monkees.
2 conditions that they didn't like.
And they're like,
also,
we already got a hit song with the "Lovin' Spoonful. Why do we want to change our name?"
Yeah. Also, funny enough, Stephen Stills auditioned to be in the Monkees. They're like,
"Oh, really?
Sorry, we don't want you." Peter Tork comes in, looking and acting like and sounding like Stephen Stills. "We'll take you." Stephen Stills is like, this Peter Tork guy has no chance. He's basically just me. You're hired. You're welcome. And then Steven Stills is just like, really? So they're like in the back, just like I just imagine like Steven Stills auditioning, trying his best, and you're like, so you're not quite the person we're looking for as our fourth member for the movie.
Crosby and Nash. Well, we're starting a band. Maybe you could come over here.
Maybe.
And then like
Nash and Grant. What, I don't know.
All right, but let me just let you know, guys, it's getting to the point where I'm no fun anymore.
But you just imagine like Steven Stills auditioning, and they're like, sorry, you're not quite what we were looking for. And then like as Steven Stills walks by, Peter Tork bumps into him. Like not bumps into him, but they like cross paths. And he's like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of you. I'm Peter Tork. I like basically I'm your biggest fan. I basically want to be like you." And he's like, "Good luck in there. They don't want a guy like me." And then like Peter Tork walks out, and he's like, "See, I told you." He's like, "No, I was walking in." And he's just like,
I got him.
"Oh, son of a, those people."
I think my favorite member of the Monkees was Mickey Dolenz because he was. I used to watch the Monkees TV show, and he was always the funniest on. He was always the funniest on the TV show.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And he learned how to play the. No, he wasn't the drum.
He played the drums.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he learned how to play the drums. Just
he did.
He's like, I don't want to be in a band like a fake band. I want to be like. I want to actually know how to do something, so he learned how to play the drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like Michael Nesmith the best. It was so hard when he passed away. I was so sad when I heard he passed away.
Yeah. I went out and bought Headquarters right after he passed away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I knew and loved him before that.
Yeah, that's funny. I inducted the Monkees the last time. Now I'm inducting the Lovin' Spoonful, so kind of fits in together. But all right, down to our last inductees. So 3 left into our top 50 or our 50 inductees in our Music Hall of Fame. So Garrett, what is your 10th and last inductee?
I would like to induct Brian Wilson, Carl Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Mike Love, Bruce Johnston, and David Marks into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as the Beach Boys.
What, you're not going to include that one guy from Full House?
John Stamos is not in the Beach Boys, okay? He drums with them every once in a while. But John Stamos is Uncle Jesse, but he ain't in the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And I do like Full House, okay? I have some really good memories of watching that growing up.
Yeah.
John Stamos is not officially in the Beach Boys. But if you want a band that defines the sunny sounds of California and just kind of the innocence of growing up as a teenager and enjoying fun in the sun, look no further than the Beach Boys. Because that's exactly what they are. It's just feel good, summer, sunny pop music.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the time. Also, if you didn't know, they're also one of the most experimental groups of the 1960s and early 70s. But a lot of people forget about that just because they have so many great hits in the early 60s. But from their first album, they already had some really great songs like Surfin' Safari. And the song is just entitled Surfin'. I think it was Dennis Wilson who suggested that they write a song about surfing, and that's where they got their name. I forget what their name was before, because they wrote the song Surfin'. I think the record company actually changed their name to the Beach Boys because the song was named Surfin', and they're like, we need something that goes with the name of the song. And they didn't.
None of them surfed, I don't think. But
just Dennis Wilson had done it a few times.
Yeah.
And so they changed their name to the Beach Boys, and they didn't even know it. And they're like, okay, I guess we're the Beach Boys now because we sing the surfing song. And Brian Wilson, who was the oldest of the Wilson brothers, was kind of the leader and arranger. He wrote all the songs. And Mike Love was the front man at the beginning. He would sing the songs. And they were kind of managed by their dad, Murray Wilson, who was sadly an abusive father.
Yeah.
Even though he taught them how to sing their harmonies when they were younger, which I think a good thing, one good thing from some very lots of other poor decisions that he made. But unfortunately, also that led to Brian going deaf in one ear from abuse, which is all say about that, which is very sad.
Mhm.
But Brian Wilson has a lot more hearing in one ear than a lot of people have in two, because later on they would get Brian to be their full producer rather than just co-producer. He produced like all of their albums up to a certain point himself. And he was real big into like Phil Spector and the Wall of Sound production, and wanted to get those big, great orchestrated sounds. So he got the Wrecking Crew to play on a lot of their songs.
Yeah, yeah.
When you get to the album Surfer Girl, that's when their music starts really getting good. You get some introspective stuff like In My Room, absolutely incredible.
So good.
You start getting the Wrecking Crew playing on behind them. I forget, man, it's been so long since I've listened to the Beach Boys. I forget what else was on Surfer Girl, but I know that's an amazing album. And then you get their car period. Well, first you've got I think All Summer Long, which is definitely their best early period album. It's got I Get Around, which is an absolutely incredible song, one of my favorites by them. Lots of great songs about just having fun in the sun in the summertime. And man, the first time I listened to that album, it was like one of the first days of summer, the beginning of June. I was driving back to my school apartment, and it was raining, but not hard raining. It was raining just enough to where you could still kind of see the sun. The sky was kind of gray. You could kind of see the sun. It was drizzling and kind of like calm raining. And I was playing this album, and it's like, it feels like summertime right now. And so every time I hear that album, it brings me back to that evening, driving back on the calm drizzle of the rain, and the Beach Boys All Summer Long playing. And then you get the Beach Boys car period, where they started singing about cars instead.
Lots of car songs.
Apparently, there was legitimate fights between teenagers at the time as to is the Beach Boys surfing period or their car period better. Nick talking about the Bee Gees disco or pop period, which one's better?
409.
Yeah. Little Deuce Coupe was the album that they made. Oh, Nick's back, video-wise. And then it's kind of one of the earliest concept albums, because all of the songs are about cars. And then Shutdown Volume 2 also featured, not all of the songs on that album are about cars, but most of them are. A few of them are about some other things, like Warmth of the Sun and Be True to Your School. Yeah. But you've got Don't Worry Baby, which is one of my favorite Beach Boys songs.
I love School.
It's like absolutely amazing song, but it's then later on it's about like, nope, somebody was mean to his girl, so now he's got to challenge them to a car race. It's like, oh, it's like Brian Wilson wanted to write this beautiful love ballad, and then the record company was like, you've got to make more car songs. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a beautiful love song about that. I'll stand up for you by driving a car in a race. It's like, I've got to write more car songs. But Be True to Your School is also another great. Oh wait, no, Be True to Your School was on Little Deuce Coupe. But I love Be True to Your School as well. That one's great. And then they fired Murray Wilson, the father, and Brian had full creative control over the band. And the first thing they did was make a Christmas album. And instead of wearing the striped shirts that they were known for, they started wearing these bright colored sweaters, which you can see on the front of the Christmas album. Then that and the next album after that, Beach Boys Today, which we'll get to in a minute. I love that album. But the Beach Boys Christmas album, very Phil Spector influenced with the orchestrations.
Yeah.
Lots of original songs, but also some just traditional Christmas songs as well. And then they make the Beach Boys Today, which is what I like to call their rubber soul, because that's kind of where it gets really interesting. Brian is playing around with some pop sounds that he's heard, especially the B-side. Starts getting really experimental on the B-side. Get the orchestration in there. Just absolutely amazing music on that album. And then they made him throw in a little fake interview at the end, which I'm like, why did we have to do that? But Summer Days and Summer Nights, another absolutely incredible album. California Girls is an amazing song. Girl Don't Tell Me is actually a really underrated song. It's kind of Ticket to Ride inspired, and it's one of Carl Wilson's first times getting to sing lead vocals, because usually it's Mike or Brian up to this point. And now we get Carl Wilson getting to sing, which Carl Wilson sings both of my favorite Beach Boys songs, God Only Knows and Good Vibrations, which we'll get to later. Actually, right now, well, first they released this album called Party, which is like kind of like a, oh, you're live at a Beach Boys party kind of a thing. And then we get Pet Sounds, which is their masterpiece. Brian kind of tapping into some personal things. He hired Tony Asher to write the lyrics to the album, and man, absolutely incredible. I just love just how personal some of the songs are to him, and how he was able to set some of his feelings to music in this album. And after that, he wanted to make something even more ambitious called Smile, but he kind of went crazy trying to figure out how to put it all together and make it all right. And unfortunately, he also was dealing with schizophrenia at the time, and that it didn't help that he was taking heavy drugs at the time as well, which all led to lots of mental problems, and he wasn't able to make Smile. So instead, they had to kind of dumb it down into Smiley Smile, which I don't like as much. I have the Smile record, which you can hear all of the sessions. They've kind of Brian has gone back and kind of arranged it into what he thinks it should have sounded like today, which is really cool. It's still incomplete, but it's about as complete as we're going to get Smile, which is still really great, even though it's a really weird album, but it's the 60s. Yeah. Wild Honey is a great soul album. Friends, kind of a cool little chill album. They have so many albums. Sunflower and Surf's Up are a pair of just absolutely amazing albums. Listen to those if you've never heard them. The title track to Surf's Up is one of their best songs, even though I like the Smile version with Brian singing better. Carl and the Passions is an okay album. Holland is a great album. That's kind of their last great album. And then as soon as Brian spent like several years in just staying in bed, and they like hired this quack doctor who would purposefully not get him the help he needed just so that he could stay with Brian, because he's like, I'm Brian Wilson, psychiatrist. He wanted to be famous, and so bad they had to like the legal issues they had to go through to get him away from him. When it got to the point where it looked like Brian was able to join them, he created they released a greatest hits album, and the record executives were like, we need you to make more oldies type music because this is what's selling right now. So right as Brian was able to rejoin the band, they had to make more nostalgia. They were a nostalgia act, but not before they released the Beach Boys Love You, which is kind of a weird little album released in between. It's a good album. There are some awkward songs on there though, particularly the one that goes pat 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 her on the butt. If you've never heard that album or even that particular song, we will just say that Brian was going through some mental troubles at the time. Oh, I love 2020. I missed that one.
I was like, somebody from the comments. I'm like, oh wait a minute, it's one of our people.
I love that album though. I can't believe I missed that one. That's a great one. It includes some Smile rejects. I love, what's the song on that one? I Can Hear Music. Man, such a good song. I think that was a cover of a song done by Ronnie Spector, if I'm not mistaken. But then the Beach Boys in the late 70s. I like Bluebirds Over the Mountain as well. Lots of great songs on the 2020 album. Cabin Essence, incredible. The Beach Boys kind of became a nostalgia act, though, because of the success of their greatest hits album, 15 Big Ones, terrible album. MIU, light album, absolutely horrible. Keeping the Summer Alive, even worse. Now, like it or hate it, I will say that I do like their song Kokomo just for personal reasons.
Yeah, it's fun.
One of the songs that led me to discover the Beach Boys, so I like it for that reason. I'm not going to say it's one of my top 10 favorite Beach Boys songs or even one of my top 30 favorite Beach Boys
Yeah,
songs, but
yeah.
I would put it on a greatest hits compilation.
The Charles Manson involved in 2020.
Oh, Dennis Wilson knew Charles Manson
Yeah.
apparently, and put one of his songs on the 2020 album.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
love
thought
that song.
he
I don't care.
had to change some of the lyrics though because he thought it was
Oh
too.
wow.
The song was called "Cease to Exist,"
Oh man.
and so he's like, "That's a little too dark. We're gonna change some of the lyrics there." And oh boy, well, the Beach Boys just continue a spiral down, getting worse and worse until eventually they make the worst album of all time, "Summer in Paradise." I might be exaggerating a bit. It may not be the worst album of all time because
Yeah, that goes to American Dream by CSNY.
Well,
but it's just
neither.
it's a terrible album, "Summer in Paradise." It's so bad that they don't even have it officially released now. They've tried to bury its existence. It's that bad. Although funny enough, it was the first album that was ever made recorded using Pro Tools. So there's that.
Wait, wasn't Mr. Wonderful? I could have sworn it was with the amount of times that you used the same riff 4 times in a row.
I'm gonna learn how to play that. But then, oh wait, nope, never mind. They keep getting worse because they make a country album that's not even them singing. They just get a bunch of famous people to do country covers of their songs, and it's only a Beach Boys album in name only. That's even worse
Really?
than "Summer in Paradise" because it's not even the Beach Boys singing.
Yeah.
I didn't need to hear the Beach Boys singing "Yeehaw Giddy Up" in the background. They actually do. But then they get good again for even though
I hate that album.
it is so bad. Even though a lot of the members had died by this point, their album in 2012, "That's Why God Made the Radio," was actually pretty good and kind of sets the record straight for a good last album.
Okay.
And it ends appropriately with their final song, "Summer's Gone." So, the Beach Boys.
I like this comment that Briar made. John Stamos will forever be a member of the Jesse and the Rippers.
Yes, he's a member of Jesse and the Rippers, but not the Beach Boys.
One of the great fictional bands.
Even though they had a hit with their cover of "Forever" at one point.
Really?
In Japan.
Yeah, that's right. In Japan, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, I mean, like you say, Beach Boys is one of my favorite bands of the 60s. I mean, they're definitely up there. I mean, how many hits do they have? They have so many hits. It's just insane. Like, I have this summer double album.
That is the one that made them.
I mean, this is
That's
two
the one.
discs.
Oh, wait, never mind. Wrong one. That's
the
not
Beach
it. Never mind.
Boys Sounds of Summer. I mean, it's 2 discs of hit songs. I mean, it's incredible. And it doesn't even hit everything, I don't think, on Pet Sounds.
No.
I mean, covers are big ones on Pet Sounds, but there's even other ones on Pet Sounds it doesn't even have on there. But and I think we agree Pet Sounds is one of the greatest albums of all time as well.
It
so.
is.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention that "Good Vibrations" made my head explode the first time I heard it. Yeah. I think what was happening is we were on a road trip somewhere. I forget where it was. I think it might have been to San Antonio, but we were in the car and my dad was like playing one of those music streaming radio stations and "Good Vibrations" comes on. I'm like kind of half asleep trying to take a nap and I hear "Good Vibrations." And I'd heard the name "Good Vibrations" before. I'm like, oh wait, I've heard this. This is supposed to be a good song. I'm going to kind of slightly wake up to hear what this sounds like. And then it gets to "I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitation." And then it's like, good vibrations. I'm like, well, and I was in choir at this point. So I'm like, listen to the harmonies singing there.
Yeah.
Different people singing different parts. And then it like changes with the bum 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 bum, just kind of all goes up. Boom, boom. Gotta keep those love good vibrations happening with her. And then there's a downwards key change, which never happens in music. It always goes up, but they had good, 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 good vibrations. And it goes down. Good, 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 good vibrations. And then it goes down again. Na 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 na. I'm like, how are they singing that high? Like, that's crazy. And then that the theremin comes in. I'm like, why couldn't they have made that last a bit longer? Like, I want to hear more of that. Oh, thankfully on the Smile album I have, they do kind of extend that outro, and I'm like, that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear more of that theremin at the end. He did. What's his name? Tony Asher did write lyrics for Good Vibrations, but they were scrapped. And honestly, this is one of the cases where I think Mike Love actually did do something helpful, because I like his lyrics on there. Although something interesting is that Brian did make a decision to change some of them. On the second verse, the lyrics originally read, she goes with me to a blossom world. It was like, she goes with me to a blossom world we find. But Brian wanted to take out we find and just have, she goes with me to a blossom world. Boom, 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 boom. But I'm picking up good vibration. That's kind of how that went. And Heroes and Villains is another one I didn't mention on Smiley Smile. Yeah. One of the songs that remained largely unchanged from what it would have been on Smile, which is good. But unfortunately, that also makes it in Good Vibrations stick out like a sore thumb that they sound like Smile songs and the rest are Smiley Smile songs.
You might hate me for saying this, Garrett, but this Good Vibrations, along with Lola, I can't stand the chorus parts, but I love it. Like, I love the depth every other part of it.
No.
I can't stand Good Vibrations, the chorus.
No.
Can't stand it.
No. That is my second favorite song of all time, after Bridge Over Troubled Water. Our House may or may not be my third favorite now, but
I disagree. Good Vibrations, that song, I love everything about it, like the verses, the parts of it changing. I love most of it, but that chorus, I can't stand it anymore. I don't know, it's just same with Lola, with the Lola. Like, put any other King song on from this time period and I'll love it. Same with the Beach Boys. Just play any other song than Good Vibrations. I'm sorry. Sorry, but not sorry.
Nick, I wonder if I can do my 10th inductee and we can end on yours, because
yes, that's what
I think you have a better finish.
Yeah, Nick has a good one to finish on.
You have a real good one to end on, I think.
And I wonder who it could be.
I wonder who. Yeah, we'll see. So for my 10th and last inductee to our Music Hall of Fame is another great Motown group, and it's called the Four Tops. Another one coming out of the Detroit area, kind of like the Temptations, kind of group of guys that dress like nicely dressed suits, great harmonies. It's got all that great stuff.
And one of them is
it's like the lead singer actually has like a very low baritone voice, which was a little bit different than a lot of there's so many great, Motown guy groups that we haven't got into. There's some in the 50s that are really good, like the Coasters, the Drifters, that we haven't gone into. But the Four Tops I had to get in here. We have Levi Stubbs, Abdul Fakar, Ronaldo Benson, and Lawrence Payton. I believe they never changed. Unlike the Temptations, I think they stayed the same. They were actually started in the 50s anyways, and got really big in the 60s. And I really had to put it in here because there were two #1 hits. I absolutely love these two songs. I Can't Help Myself, parentheses, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. I mean, come on, one of the great, catchy, fun, upbeat songs of the 60s. Love that song, singing to that one. And then they also got a #1 hit with Reach Out, I'll Be There. Another absolutely fantastic song. They also had a big hit with Baby, I Need Your Loving, another absolute fantastic song. Went #11 in the charts in 1964. They had other big hits with It's the Same Old Song, Shake Me, Wake Me When It's Over, Ain't No Woman Like the One I've Got. some of the bigger ones there. Overall, they had 27 albums. They didn't end until 1997. I mean, they went from 1953 to 1997. I mean, they had a huge range. Of course, their big period was the 60s, though. And again, I love that good old Motown guys and girl groups singing those harmonies. Definitely one I don't listen to enough. I need to listen to more of these kind of groups and like the Four Seasons and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely, I was really happy to get this group in and get more Motown to our group, the Four Tops.
And
my last induction.
One of them is a man-eating plant.
What's that?
One of them is a man-eating plant.
Man-eating plant.
Have you ever seen the movie Little Shop of Horrors?
Yes, I have.
Levi Stubbs is the plant.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. That's cool.
Levi Stubbs is a great vocalist.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we got one last inductee, and we are going to give it to the Ox, Nick himself, to do it.
Yes. Come on, Pete Townsend. Come on, Keith Moon. Come on, Roger Daltrey. And me, the Ox. I shall come forth.
Are you going to call up? You're going to call up Kenny Jones again, too? Or
Kenny Jones, come back up. You're actually really good, Kenny Jones. Come on. Come up. I know you probably think you'll never be as good as Keith Moon. I agree somewhat. You're a great drummer, but you belong up here too, Kenny Jones. Come right up. The Who, my favorite band of all time. I'm not gonna be like those stuck-up Beatle fans who are like, it's The Who, and then there's everybody else. We're on a different planet. If you don't agree with me, I have my own separate argument for Beatles.
Not the Guess Who, The Who.
yeah, the Who. They did American Woman, right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs by them. And the Guess Who, I really like their song Bubba O'Reilly.
Yeah, I guess you have a good one.
I'm still going to give you a little crap on this, Keith, with you saying that we overrepresented the Who. I disagree with you all the while. I don't think they get represented quite enough. I will disagree with you to the ends of the earth. The Who are the greatest band of all time. And to me, let's get started.
Yeah.
They started off as the High Numbers. They released a song called In the Face and Zoot Suit, great songs. Then Pete Townsend started diving into the Kinks with You Really Got Me and all that. And he was like, maybe we should make a song similar to that. Then they made I Can't Explain, very Kinks-like. But, and then the Kinks, but I'm trying to sound like Pete Townsend. So it comes both ways. Mm-hmm. But I think the Who did the Kinks better than the Kinks doing the Who. So. Yeah. Their first album, My Generation. That debut album, along with Please Please Me, you want a song that came, revolutionized, you want a song that revolutionized the pop scene in the British Invasion? Love Me Do. And Please Please Me, the album. If you want a S-tier rock album / song that revolutionized the rock genre, My Generation.
My Generation.
Then they made an album called A Quick One, or Happy Jack if you live in the States back then. Great album. Love that album to death. Then they recorded the greatest album of all time to me, Who's Sell Out. I'll never get tired of that album. Then they released Magic Bus, which isn't
second greatest album of all time.
Yeah, I would never say that. I think the Kinks album, Village Green, is my second favorite album. Then they released 3 amazing albums. Two of which is concept double albums. One of them was gonna be, but ended up just being a great rock album. I disagree. Please Please Me has no chance against My Generation. I think My Generation makes Please Please Me look like a horrible album, in my opinion.
Oh man,
I'm not holding back. People like to crap on me for not thinking the Beatles is the best. So I'm not holding back
This
either.
is your
I'm gonna disagree with 3 words. I'm a man.
I think the weakest song on My Generation is a lot better than the weakest song on Please Please Me. I'd take that over Taste of Honey.
I don't like
As
it.
John Lennon would say, a waste of money. It really was.
A waste of money.
And that Chain song I can't stand. I don't know. Don't like that song. Even though I love Please Please Me, I don't know. My Generation just makes that album look like.
Both good albums. I don't know what to say.
Like I said, I'm not holding back. People don't want to hold back on me for not thinking the Beatles are the best. So obviously, Jason and Garrett are the most respectable of the bunch, but some of them are really nasty. Some of them are like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know nothing about new music. I'm just like, really, man. But like I said, greatest album of all time. But Tommy, I mean, what a fantastic double album. I mean, yeah, that album's just fantastic. Who's Next? Even though it's my 8th favorite album from them, I mean, they're my favorite.
That's one that I'm actually gonna call a red flag on.
They're my favorite band of all time.
I can take it if you say you like the Who better than the Beatles, but you ain't gonna put down Who's Next like that. That's on my wall of fame back there.
I'm not gonna be like some people who are like, how dare you like the most popular choice? Blah. I respect your opinion.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic record. There's just too many songs that aren't as strong. To not of that, but you could blame the 2 radio stations, 95.1 ZZO and 99.9 The Hawk for
always blame those stations.
Blame those stations, Garrett.
I mean, you could always.
I was forced into listening to those songs when I worked with this one guy, so I couldn't just turn off his radio. Yeah. So yeah, when I do rank that album at 8, just keep in mind those 2 stations.
I know.
Big chunk of that album, and there's one too many songs. I'm just like scratching my head, especially going mobile. Would have been much better to have like pure and easy. Any other song, but no, whatever. Quadrophenia, one of the greatest, probably my all-time favorite double album. That album, along with Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, those are my 2 favorites double albums.
Yeah.
Then they had a really underrated album called Who by Numbers. That's a great album. I'm glad Jason agrees with that. I know Garrett isn't crazy about it, but
I got the CD because I like Success Story and I like Blue, Red, and Gray, and Slip Kid's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I love every song. Even the hit off of it, I actually still quite like Squeeze Box, even though it's a little very, very interesting, very weird song. Who Are You? Man, that is an incredible album.
I love that
so
one.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask, I mean, when you get mad at me for not having Who's Next high, just think of it this way: they have an album like Who Are You, Quadrophenia, and all that. It's hard to compete with albums like that. Like, if the Who had a mediocre discography, then Who's Next would be an easy number 1 pick. But even putting it number 8, number 7, it's very difficult putting it there because has Getting in Tune, Song Is Over, Bargain. Love those songs.
It's like when I had to put Permanent Waves at like 6 or 7, which the ranking has changed now. I'm gonna have to.
You know how I feel though, right, Garrett? Like you have to like put Permanent Waves so low, and you're just like, ugh. That's how I feel.
When we're done with this video, I'm gonna want to ask Jason about how his Rush listening experience has been, but we're gonna have to save that for off camera because I know he's doing the Discog dive later on.
Yeah. That's great. That's 2 pretty good 80s albums. Of course, Odds and Sods is a good one. Live at Leeds is amazing. But I'm not talking about you, Jason. Jason from Taste Like Music. He said this about the Stones he said, "Oh, my favorite Stones song wouldn't crack my 100 favorite Beatles songs." I say, I say, my favorite Beatles song wouldn't crack my top 100 Who songs. I know. Uh,
Yeah,
you think I'm crazy.
I like You Better You Bet is one of my favorite on there.
Which
Oh,
song
that's
was
a
that?
good.
Robert?
Face dances.
Oh, still haven't heard that one. I need to if we're gonna be ranking the albums soon.
Yeah, I like that song.
That's the best song on that album.
I heard "Don't Let Go of the Coat" recently though, but that one's really good.
No, that's a great song too. First two songs are amazing. But yeah, that's my big hot take is my favorite Beatles song "Within You Without You" wouldn't even crack my top 100 Who songs. I know
Yeah.
Garrett and Jason are ready to throw me off the stream, but
I'm sorry, but "Strawberry Fields Forever" is way better than "Uncle Ernie." I'm just gonna throw that one out there.
I agree with that.
Uncle Ernie's not even close to being in my top 100 Who songs. But I will say this: like, I take Uncle Ernie over Revolution 9 and Wild Honey Pie any day of the week.
Because it's only 2 minutes long.
Yeah, but Wild Honey Pie is 1 minute. I take 2 minutes of Uncle Ernie, then 1 minute of Honey Pie, Honey Pie, Honey Pie. I know. And this is why me and Jason got into that video of well, Jason will be the Beatle defender, and I'm gonna be the guy who says all the hot takes. And
yeah.
We can have a Beatles versus the Who video. We had the Who versus Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin got
we couldn't do
smoked.
the Beatles because it would get copy strike right away. That's the only problem.
But if we didn't
I would
play
do it
the
already.
songs, if we just like had like a song bracket,
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people would be Team Beatles, but I don't know. I just think the Beatles. I just think the Who is just way better, in my opinion.
Way better.
no.
I'll give you this. At least I'm not like Kremser, who thinks the Rolling Stones is way better. He's crazy. I watched the video. Kremser's like, he's like, I take every. He's like, I take. There's like 50 songs I prefer over Taxman. I'm like, I'm curious what the 50 songs are.
Name them. Name them.
I'm like, name the songs. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be lying if I said the Who's my favorite. I mean, the Beatles is my favorite. Who I don't know. I just connect with them more. Not only that, but after Revolver, it feels like a dictatorship with Paul McCartney just being Paul McCartney with this. Like if they had more albums like Rubber Soul and Revolver, I could see why. But I don't know. Sgt. Pepper could be a mess. My album is just a huge mess. It feels like three different solo artists. Like, it feels like three different solo albums in like one. Some people most people would think that that's a great thing, but to me it's just a mess. I don't know. I have a lot of arguments when I do that video.
All right.
Yeah, that's my pick.
That's your pick. All right. Yeah, I agree. The Who is one of my favorite all time. The Beatles are number one. After that, I don't know. I have to think about it before I come up with my next couple. I know the Who, Led Zeppelin, Queen are in the mix, and be honest, the Beach Boys, the Eagles are probably in there as well. But I can't say one's like way better. They're all
Agree, Keith.
being
Don't
good.
agree.
So.
You said the Beatles had two great songwriters. You said the Who had one. I think the Ox is a great songwriter. Don't agree with you at all. Not that, but George
the Beatles had three great songwriters. Don't forget my boy George.
Yeah, don't forget George.
I'd say if you're going to argue against me, at least have a good argument.
Okay, let's not get after don't get after my subscribers.
No, I'm
not getting after the subscriber. I was getting after Nick for saying two.
That's Nick
saying.
saying.
He was just reading what he.
I wasn't the one who said that. No, that was Keith. I'll say don't ever unsubscribe to Jason. He's not the one who's saying all this. I'll say if anything, if you're gonna attack someone, attack me.
Nick's hot takes. Yeah, so that's 50 inductees into our 1960s Hall of Fame. I think it was a pretty good list. I think we hit most of the we hit mostly all the ones I wanted to hit. I think. I mean, obviously you got the big ones in there: the Beatles, the Who, the Led Zeppelins, the Beach Boys, Bob Dylan's. I mean, you can go on and on. So many great bands and artists. I mean, '60s is also. It's hard between the '60s and '70s is my favorite era, for sure. But I want to go over some artists that we didn't mention that I had on my list that I didn't get into mine, and you guys can, if you have any more that you can put in there. But I put Peter, Paul, and Mary on my honorable mention. The Association, I think it's great, kind of in that folk rock era. And I was going to highlight this. Keith said Johnny Rivers did a cover of "Baby I Need Your Lovin'." I like better than Four Tops. Yeah, Johnny Rivers is on my honorable mention. I love Johnny Rivers. He did a lot of great cover stuff. "Track of My Tears" he does a great version of that as well. He did a lot of Motown stuff. It's really good. I put the Rascals on here. I think the Rascals had some really good stuff. I haven't really gotten into the Rascals though. That's a band I would like to get more into. It's some really good stuff. Peter and Gordon. I don't know if they had a lot of hits, but I know they had one of my favorite songs. "I Won't Live in a World Without Love," whatever.
That's the Beatles wrote that.
That Paul wrote.
Paul wrote that. John Hurt saw the first lyric, "Please lock me away," and John's like, I ain't singing that. And then like, he was trying to find someone to do it, and then he was like his girlfriend's, his sister's boyfriend, Peter Escher, he was like, "Hey, you want this song?" And that became a huge hit for them.
The Shirelles was a great girls group. I couldn't get in there. We got the Supremes in, but Shirelles is another one that probably could get in there. This is a personal one of mine I really like is Gary Lewis and the Playboys. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I've heard of them. I'm not familiar with them though.
Gary Lewis, son of Jerry Lewis, had "This Diamond Ring" and a lot of other good songs. But had Jerry and the Pacemakers, another Liverpool band. I don't know if they have a lot of hits, but I love and I think Nick, you mentioned this is one of your favorites. "Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying" is one of my favorites.
That's my favorite. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Of course, "Ferry Across the Mersey" was a huge hit, but one I thought someone would pick actually, "Jefferson Airplane." Nobody picked, but I'm not.
To pick them.
I'm not really into them. Like I haven't really gotten into them. I just know a couple of their big hits, but I knew they were big on the psychedelic era.
Pretty good. I listened to that album, and "Somebody to Love" was kind of the only really huge standout on that album. Like the songs that the guy sings were kind of more boring, but then like "Somebody to Love" came on and was like, why is this song much better than every other song on this album?
You know, let that album grow on you. I remember not liking it too, but I'm starting to like. I actually kind of like. I like most of the songs that the guy sings more than the girl. I think the only one I don't really like is "Plastic Fantastic Lover." I can't stand that one, but yeah, that's it for that one.
I put down the Grassroots. I don't know. They had some good hits that I enjoy. Not enough to put on the list, but definitely one I thought of. I put Etta James on here, though I don't know much about Etta James. I just know I've heard her name, and she was a big singer. I put the Turtles on here, even though the Turtles had one huge hit that I loved.
I can't
"Happy Together."
Love
that song. I mean, they had a couple other maybe minor hits, but that was the big one. So I need to get into them more to see what they have. But I put down Otis Redding.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about Otis Redding except for "Dock of the Bay" is a great song, but
"Try a Little Tenderness" is amazing.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard that one?
Is that not an Elvis song, or am I thinking something else?
No, you're thinking of "Love Me Tender."
Okay.
The Otis Redding has a song called "Try a Little Tenderness," and it starts out as like this slow, kind of soulful ballad, and then by the end, it's getting up to "You got to try a little tenderness."
Yeah.
Squeeze her, don't tease her, but try a little tender. It's so good.
I remember Donkey singing that in Shrek. Yeah.
Oh.
That was good. And then I just put this down because Nick, I think, reminded me of Sonny and Cher. That's a good one. I didn't think about. Of course, You've Got Me, Babe. Maybe it's overplayed. Still a good song. And
Yeah, that's a good one. I just think of Groundhog's Day whenever I hear it.
yeah, exactly. And then I put Dave Clark 5 as the other one that had some huge hits there for a little period there that possibly could have made it in our list, but couldn't fit them in anyway. So those are the honorable mentions I had. Do you guys have anybody else?
Nah, you mentioned most of them that I
I
want.
mentioned most of them.
I,
Yeah.
I was so close to putting Dave Clark 5. I was so close.
Jackson 5. Yes, Jackson 5. Yeah.
I think there's going to be a member who went
Oh,
solo
yeah.
from that group who's going to be on our 80s list, most likely. So
I mean, ABC.
Oh, I got Off the Wall. I got Off the Wall.
1, 2, 3.
Finally.
ABC.
That's a great album, Garrett.
I Need Bad, and I can complete the Michael Jackson trilogy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, Briar. Jackson 5 was definitely a big one.
I love.
Might be more, but
Sorry.
what, Nick?
No, say what you guys say. Sorry.
I said I don't know if there's probably more, but I mean I think that's a pretty good list of the big ones in my opinion.
So homework, Nick, you've got You've Lost That Love and Feeling, and Jason, you got Try a Little Tenderness.
All right. Well, with that, took up enough of everybody's time probably, but that was fun getting to talk about our favorite bands, and I want to do it again for the 1970s and kind of do the same kind of thing. Anyways, cover some more stuff, but yeah, that was great. You guys have anything else to say before we go, or you said enough?
Don't crucify me for what I said.
Oh yeah, Keith M, if you're still watching, we love you. Yeah, you put lots of great
Thanks for
comments
commenting
on our video. We see your name come up a lot.
Yeah.
I know, especially Nick and I like to joke around a little bit, especially with you because your comments come up a lot. But we really like having you around here on the channel, and really appreciate your subscription to Jason.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're very respectful. Yeah, you're respectful. A lot of people online like to be disrespectful to each other, and
oh boy, don't I know it. That's where the genius comes in.
Yeah, the genius can come in many ways, whether it be Fleetwood Mac, the blues era, or people who can't take people who don't know that other people can have other favorite bands. So
the next episode, why the Bee Gees pop era is better than their disco era.
Oh yeah.
All right. So now we're closing the chapter on the 60s. I'm going to end with the love you make is equal to the love you take. Or did I do that wrong?
I don't remember the lyrics. I haven't listened to Abbey Road.
The love you take is equal to the love. Yeah, that's it.
Or what's another famous last line of an album? Like the last line of the last.
The new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah,
that was the 70s, though. Oh wait, we
had
the Who. It's the Who.
I gotta say sorry to you, Keith. I'm very defensive over the Who.
It's the time of the season.
Hopefully,
the love you take is equal to the love you make. So.
Hopefully, Keith M could be like, "You are forgiven. You are forgiven. You are forgiven."
Yeah, that's the last line of that album. You are all forgiven.